Chapter 121, The Real Appearance of WAWA 2.0. One day, the treasurer, Zhu Yuefeng, pulled Chen Jin aside and quietly spoke to him. President Chen, the company funds don't seem to be sufficient. What? Hearing this, Chen Jin stood rooted to the ground. Insufficient funds? Was there not a few billion in the company account just some time ago? How was it possible that such a huge sum of money could be gone so quickly? Zhu Yuefeng took out a detailed list with some reluctance and gave a report on his extravagant expenses. 1. Currently, the company employed 1,781 staff. It had 3 development plants and 1 rented office building. The monthly rent, utilities, consumables, salaries, and other expenses were over 100 million per month. 2. Purchase of 3 workshops cost 55 million. 3. Purchase of various technological patents cost 300 million. 4. The development costs for WAWA 2.0 incurred by the project department was 350 million. 5. Purchases of office equipment cost 420 million. 6. 500 million was allocated for the establishment of a department for the development of the chip. 7. Purchase of a supercalculator costs 550 million. 8. 250 million was allocated for the construction of a large-scale hardware R&D facility. Other expenses cost 150 million. Total expenses incurred were 5.025 billion. How much did Xinghai Technologies earn this entire time? The total revenue had been calculated. The 3 million units of WAWA Robot 1.0 edition that were sold generated a cash flow of 1.67 billion for the company. It had been 2 months since the launch of the WAWA 1.1 in May. According to the statistics by the sales department, a total of 2.75 million units of the WAWA Robot 1.1 were sold. This included all editions of the 1.1 robot. The average net profit from each unit was $1,203. Multiplied by 2.75 million. The company earned another 3.3 billion during those 2 months. In addition, DeMi Technologies had sold around 2 million Love Me robots. This meant a total payout of 250 million to Xinghai Technologies for the cost of its exclusive rights. The total profits were 5.22 billion, the bonuses paid to Yuying Motors and Bai Long Technologies were temporarily excluded. After subtracting the sum of expenses from the total profits, the leftover profit on paper was less than 200 million. Chen Jin patted his chest as he let out a sigh of relief. Looking at Zhu Yuefeng, he said, "Manager Zhu, you scared me. Why are you making a fuss about nothing? Don't we still have 200 million? President Chen, I'm not scaring you. You are spending money way too fast. According to this spending rate, the available cash flow of the company would dip below the warning level within a few days. For long-term growth companies like us, it's not too safe to have funds that show up on the books as less than 500 million. I think it would better if you control some of your expenses. The company is expanding too quickly. There is no reason to rush. Some expenses really should not be incurred, it's best not to spend on those items." Zhu Yuefeng knew that the boss may dislike hearing those words, but he still advised him earnestly. After all, it was a high-tech enterprise with a bright future that had been established for less than a year before its legendary rise to the top of the 500 most powerful domestic companies with the highest sales revenues. It should take a safer and more reliable route. It should have a clearer direction for its development. Hitting out in all directions to seize all the opportunities and profits becomes a suitable course of action only when the company has grown into a giant leading corporation. All right, Manager Zhu. You can rest assured. The money that should be spent has almost all been spent. What's left is waiting for our labor to bear fruit and the moment when we can reap huge rewards. Moreover, we are still selling some hundreds of thousands of the WAWA robot every month. We still have a monthly profit of hundreds of millions. It won't be too long before the company's cash flow is rejuvenated." Zhu Yuefeng nodded. There was no further need for his opinions since the boss had acknowledged the state of the company's coffers. Time flowed quickly like water. For the next 4 months, the entire company was swamped with work and entered a state of urgency. Working overtime became common, especially for the staff in R&D positions. The average working hours per week for the R&D staff in Xinghai Technologies was 56 hours. It was only half a day's difference from the 60 hours work week of the Huayao company. It far surpassed that of internet companies 361, Ali, and Baidu, who were famous for their overtime working culture. It seemed that the company could not avoid the reputation of squeezing its employees anymore. In reality, Xinghai Technologies did not enforce any overtime policy. You could choose to work 9 to 5 where work and life were equal priorities. You could also choose to work overtime and get a higher salary. Hence, an overwhelming majority of the staff were willing to do overtime. They actively applied to work overtime. Some of the workaholics even bought sleeping bags with their own money. When they got tired at night, they would take a nap beside their work desks. The first reason was the strict implementation of the overtime pay system. The hourly overtime rate was 1.5 times the normal hourly rate. One could only do overtime for a maximum of 4 hours. The second reason was the excellent prospects of the company's projects. In addition, the projects were inspiring and exciting for many. Hence, the R&D staff was filled with enthusiasm and motivation for their work. There was this saying that went like this: when you're doing something that you like, you'll never feel tired no matter how tough it gets. When you're doing something that you dislike, you'll feel tired no matter how easy it is. The projects in Xinghai Technologies belonged to the former. During those few months, Chen Jin did not take any time off to rest. On the contrary, he was living like an ordinary R&D staff. He would go to the development plant whenever he was free. He was especially devoted and serious about the learning machine project. He came to the company at least 4 to 5 times every week, and each time that he came, he would stay in the company for at least half a day to personally direct the workflow. As such, he became even busier. It was not that he was torturing himself for nothing or finding trouble for himself by taking on extra work. He really was bored out of his mind. 1. The work on the environmental transformation in Haifa had commenced, and the AI, Nuwa, was fully in charge of the entire project. The most Chen Jin ever had to do was to move his lips and offer some opinions. Moreover, all the rubbish that could be found had basically all been found. After sending out the air transport squad to the Yamato state, they found a supercalculator called Sakura who could count up to 10 sextillions. He then gave Alice another upgrade. After Sakura, there were essentially no other darlings left that warranted his attention or effort. On Earth, the majority of the company's general affairs did not require his personal attention. He handed that duty over to the CEO. Except for delegating work, he did practically nothing. Therefore, he could freely arrange how he wanted to spend most of his time. But, he kept his promise to Director Dong's daughter Yuan Li precisely because he had too much time on his hands. He took the initiative and treated her to a meal. Then, they went shopping. Their relationship became warmer and friendlier. After which, things got out of hand. In the short period of half a month, Yuan Li repeatedly asked him out for a meal 3 times, and to go sightseeing 4 times. One could not hold off the passion of that girl. Chen Jin was starting to find the whole thing somewhat tedious. He had a quiet personality. Yuan Li would invite him to go to various places to savor delicious food or trips to admire the scenery. It was good at the beginning, and he was happy too. But, he gradually became sick of these activities after the 100th time. He found these activities to be meaningless. He realized that he was someone who did not really know how to enjoy life. The 2-dimensional ladies were enough to satisfy him. Rather than spending huge amounts of time eating, drinking, and having fun, why not do something that was more meaningful? He sent a message to her. Yuan Li, the company is very busy now. I won't have any free time to go out with you for the next few months. Forgive me. Yuan Lin pursed her lips and replied, oh. Okay. On the 21st of December, after the 6-month rapid development process by the 300-man development team, Xinghai Technologies achieved a breakthrough in their first product. They created a prototype of the final product version. They announced that the finalization was completed. This product was the heavily upgraded edition of the WA Robot 1.1. WA Robot 2.0. Chapter 122, The Real Upgrade to a New Generation. In the first development plant, the finalized version of the 2.0 robot prototype was exhibiting its functions and capabilities to Chen Jin. In terms of appearance, the 2.0 edition WA robot bore little difference to the 1.0 edition. The brain, body, and chassis were basically the same. The greatest changes could be found inside its head and body, where many additional sensors had been installed. Its mechanical arms became more dexterous. The addition of the hydraulic telescopic device enabled the length of its arms to be increased by 5 centimeters. The 3 mechanical fingers at the end of each arm were mobile, allowing the robot to do simple grasping motions. In terms of weight, it was 0.5 kilograms heavier than WA 1.1. The technical chief inspector, Zhou Kun, explained its specific functions with great excitement. President Chen, firstly, it can achieve an even more immaculate level in its cleaning with higher efficiency, thus requiring less human intervention. Through improvements in many areas, it is able to clean 99.9% of all rubbish and stains on major portions of the floor. With its agile and nimble mechanical arms, WA 2.0 can take out the rubbish container in its body by itself and dispose of the trash in the designated trash bin. After which, it will also clean and wash the rubbish container by itself. This will further reduce the hassle experienced by the user. Except for the disposal of the trash in the designated trash bin that requires the user's personal attention, it can be said that users who purchase a WA 2.0 do not have to worry about anything else related to the robot. It's most suitable to use Floorboard Terminator to describe the WA 2.0. His eyes shone with excitement. Secondly, we've added the home carer function. The cameras of WA 2.0 can function as a monitoring device. When there's nobody at home, it can keep an eye on the valuables, children, or elderly. When it detects a stranger's entry, it will automatically notify the user. Alternatively, it can also call the police. When there's a fire, it will send out a notification and call 911 for the fire police. When an elderly family member who is sick suffers medical complications or attacks, it can call for emergency services. If the children have a cold or fever, it can measure their temperatures and send out notifications. The home carer function is yet another big selling point for the WA 2.0. Thirdly, we've added the family mode. Frankly speaking, this function does not bear much difference with the smart speakers that are already available on the market. The humans ask questions and the robot answers. The format of their replies is fixed and routine. At most, they can tell stories and sing. After using them for a period of time, one would be bored. But, the WA 2.0 robot is different. We've created the free interaction function. When the user turns on the free interaction mode and sets up the gender, personality, and nickname, WA 2.0 can automatically substitute itself into the role of a family member. Not only can it passively answer questions, but it can also take the initiative to speak, start a conversation, and attract others' attention, even becoming a chatterbox. Similarly, it can sing, dance, tell stories and jokes and carry out talent shows. It's a bit of a clown as well as a something that brings joy. Zhou Kun smiled widely. After the user has purchased such a robot, his home will be enlivened. The children will have a companion too. As for its specific results, there is no guarantee that it will be liked by all. But, the majority of the test control staff thinks well of the family function. They feel that it could be a breakthrough for the industry. The mode can be turned off if one finds the noise annoying. One could also request WA to be silent during a certain period of time, thus blocking off its disturbance. I believe that this interactive function will be very popular if it could become smarter and more interesting in the future. Fourthly, we've added a protecting the environment for the good of the public mode. Every week, WA 2.0 will announce a mission titled I Love Protecting the Environment. The time limit for the mission is 1 day. It'll call on the user to take it outside to clean the housing estates, streets, and public squares, as well as other public facilities. 1 point will be awarded for every 100 square meters that are cleaned, mainly through sweeping. When 1,000 reward points have been accumulated, we will provide a free maintenance session. When 10,000 points have been accumulated, we will give a completely new WA robot free of charge. This particular method played off of the promotion videos for the original WA robot. Using this method, Seeing High Technologies will show our support for the protection of the environment. And by showing that we are taking concrete actions and contributing to the protection of the environment, it will help to greatly improve our company's social image. Fifthly, we've added a gaming mode. Actually, this mode complements that of the environmental protection mode. Each day that the WA robot is cleaning the home, its experience level would increase by 1. When it participates in an I Love Protecting the Environment activity, its experience will increase by at least 10. It can also acquire combat experience when it meets another WA robot outside and have a face-off, which will help to rapidly increase its experience level. I believe that with the addition of the gaming mode, many users would be willing to go outside with their WA robots and take part in protecting our environment. As they participate in the fight for environmental protection, they will also make more friends. Zhou Kun looked at Chen Jin proudly. President Chen, our WA 2.0 can clean the floor, look after the valuables at home, and take care of the elderly and children. It can also become a familial character and bring much joy to the family. Plus, it can take concrete action and firmly work towards the objective of protecting the environment, which in turn, protects our Earth too. This is an excellent robot. I find it hard to imagine how anybody would be unwilling to buy it or act hesitantly by sitting on the sidelines and adopting a wait-and-see attitude towards this product. Personally for me, I would definitely buy one even if I don't get to use it. Because it's a guardian of the home, it's an angel that protects the environment. It's the cutest robot. Joe Kun shook his fist and said with a sparkle in his eyes, every family should have one. If they don't, I would feel that it's not a complete and happy family. Currently, he was acting like a fanatical believer. He felt a pressing desire to introduce the WA 2.0 that he had developed into all the homes in the country. The other technicians in the project team did not behave in such an exaggerated manner as Joe Kun. However, they too were extremely excited. President Chen, let's set the starting price at $10,000 for one unit. I'm confident that people will buy it. President Chen, let's quickly stop the production of WA 1.1 and put all efforts into the production of WA 2.0. Our WA 2.0 can generate higher profits. I think that the sales volume of the 2.0 could reach 30 million units. Only 30 million? I think it can exceed 50 million. You have too little confidence. Why can't you believe that it will become as ubiquitous as the refrigerator or the washing machine? Every household must have one. We can definitely sell up to 100 million units. All the technicians present chattered with great excitement. Hearing the talk from everyone, Chen Jin smiled and nodded. How could he be unaware of WA 2.0's market potential when he was the one who came up with its design plan? The production of WA 1.1 had completely stopped 2 months ago. Its sales volume had just reached 6 million units. By now, modifications and adjustments on the production line of Lingfeng Jingmi had been completed. Purchase of materials had also been completed. The mass production of WA 2.0 was about to begin. At the present stage, the WA Robot 2.0 was the final edition of robots meant to tackle the flaw in Chen Jin's plan. The scope of the upgrades to be carried out in future editions of the robot would not be extensive. The upgrades on February 1, 2.2, 2.3 and so forth would minimal, they would be eked out like the last bit of toothpaste left in the tube. As for his next plan of action, he had shifted his sights away from the floor and set it on something that was above the ground. He wanted to make a real family robot. When he revealed some of his thoughts regarding this idea to the technicians that were present, including Joe Kun, their mouths hung open. Chapter 123, The Ultimate Optimization. On the 28th of December, Shi Xiaotao came to Shanghai City bearing good news again. The dailies of the animation movie WA Robot, A Brilliant and Brave Rescue had been completed. The movie was 90% complete. There was only post-production editing, the official soundtrack, and other simple tasks left to complete. We've recruited new staff in order to increase the pace of production. We have twice as many staff now and we frequently work overtime. In addition, I've cut some content. The entire film is only 92 minutes long. But it's still just as exciting and the storyline has become more compact. We've employed an animation production technology that will increase our efficiency, and purchased a type of high-speed rendering software. This has allowed our work efficiency to increase by 30%. Filled with pride, Shi Xiaotao said, therefore, we are able to create a completed movie animation within a period of 8 months or so. Currently, we are the only ones who are able to achieve this kind of efficiency. Of course, she did not deny that the source material provided by Chen Jin had shortened the production period by at least 2 to 3 months. After all, everything was hard in the beginning. Chen Jin nodded without moving his gaze from the laptop screen as he watched the movie. Slowly, his forehead creased in a frown. It was not that the movie was bad. At least he thought that the first 30 minutes were very good. The images were exquisite, the plot flowed smoothly, and there were many punchlines. The quality was excellent. However, from the middle of the movie onwards, the images showed signs of slight distortion. It was not as exquisite as the first 30 minutes and many details were crudely produced. The quality had significantly decreased and the rhythm of the plot was messy. One could see the effects where the work was rushed. Chen Jin pointed out these issues. Feeling helpless, she awkwardly said, I wouldn't have thought that you'd notice details like that. Our post-production process was indeed rushed. But, I don't think that it's a big problem. At least there were no issues with the storyline. The loss of details and the image distortion are due to the high-speed rendering software that we used. That's its innate flaw. It guarantees speed at the expense of quality. We could only use it as it is. But, I don't think that the audience will pay too much attention to those details. It won't affect box office sales. Chen Jin shook his head. You're right. The ordinary viewers will not pay attention to those details. But the professionals will. The professional film critics who write reviews will get their magnifying glass and apply it to every single detail in the movie. After watching the movie, the ordinary viewers would simply have a laugh and forget about it. But, industry professionals and film critics would definitely find flaws with it. They'll grasp onto some detail and not let go, then they'll give negative reviews about it. As the power of words lies with them, the moment they roast the movie collectively is the moment our movie's reputation goes down the drain. Box office sales would definitely be affected in the end. I know. Shizuo Tao said, you're right. But, this movie is requested to be screened as part of the film schedule in the Spring Festival. This timing is extremely rushed. We still have to create an original soundtrack, find a theater chain for collaboration, prepare the promotions and launch events. We're very busy over various matters and we just couldn't take any more time to further refine the movie. We were only able to edit it a little. There's nothing I can do if the reputation of the movie becomes worse because of criticisms from industry professionals. After all, this is only my first work, a debut movie. I can only hope they can have some mercy for me in their reviews and be more understanding. I think that the effects on box office sales will not be significant. This is only a fluff movie on family joys. What the audience wants is something that is happy and relaxing. If I can meet these criteria, it's basically a success. Hence, she did not intend to do greater adjustments and editing on the final version of the movie. Suddenly, Chen Jin said, then. How about this, leave a copy of the dailies here. I'll get someone to optimize it. With a questioning expression, she asked, you'll find someone to help me optimize the dailies? How would it be optimized? Do you still remember the promotion ad series WA Robot that my company got a third party to do? That's great. President Chen, please ask for their help. Thank you very much. Shizuo Tao was very pleasantly surprised. She had seen the series of ads titled WA Robot. The quality of its graphics was one of the very best in the world. With the help from a team that possessed such strong technical skills, the quality of the graphics in her movie WA Robot, A Brilliant and Brave Rescue would definitely be greatly improved. She asked Chen Jin what was a suitable amount of remuneration for their help. $1 million? Or $5 million? Let's wait until the results have been achieved. Chen Jin got her to leave a copy of the dailies with him. After about a week, he would give the final post-optimization version to her. On that very night, at the base of operations in Haifa, Chen Jin had stored the movie WA Robot, A Brilliant and Brave Rescue in his laptop. He uploaded it onto the server for Alice to optimize. It's completed, Master. After about 3 minutes had passed, Alice expressed that the optimization had been completed. Chen Jin shook his head. Damn, is this light speed optimization? He let Alice turn on the projector and play the post-optimization movie. He was shocked at the optimization effects. The strands of hair on individual characters in the movie had been refined to an imperceptible degree. The pattern of bricks and veins on the roads and ground were like a complex painting. The characters' expressions were extremely realistic and moving. The flow of the graphics had been optimized to an ultimate degree. Each second consisted of 240 frames. The slightly distorted graphics and the lost details were all recovered and revamped. Perfection. Chen Jin only wanted to use perfection to describe the graphics of the entire movie. I honestly think audiences would fork out money to buy a ticket for this movie just for the effects alone. The current era prioritizes visuals over everything else. It is an era where aesthetics guide consumer spending. Even if the movie totally sucks, just with these graphics, it can seize at least 2 billion in box office sales. Moreover, it doesn't have a terrible plot. There are many punchlines and a heartwarming ending. Raking in box office sales of 3 billion is entirely reasonable. After 1 week, Chen Jin sent the optimized dailies via long-distance courier service to Shizuo Tao in Hangzhou City. Shizuo Tao signed off on the shipment. She called Chen Jin even before she finished viewing them. Her shrieking over the phone exceeded 100 decibels. How was this accomplished? How did you do it? What technology did you use to achieve this level of perfection? This is too amazing. Too amazing, this level of technical skill is practically godlike. President Chen, I'd like to get acquainted with the team of experts that you found. Amidst her shrieking, she shot him a series of questions at machine gun speed. She said with utmost certainty, 5 billion. I'm confident that the box office sales of this movie will break through 5 billion. Chen Jin was greatly shocked. 5 billion? Currently, there was only one movie in the country with box office sales of over 5 billion. That was Battleground 2, directed and starred by Wu Jin. It sparked a wave across the nations. It was said that citizens all over the country had watched it at least once on average. It was true that the images in her movie were much more refined after optimization. However, her plot had been done to death. There were no intense or thrilling action scenes. It would be considered pretty good if the movie could rake in 3 billion in box office sales. 5 billion was an overly egoistic number. But, Chen Jin did not openly rebuke her. He was faintly afraid of acting out of his image. Of course, that team of experts was usually very busy. They did not like to be disturbed or to socialize. Okay. Maybe I can see them after I've become an internationally famous director. She inquired as to how much compensation should be given to that amazing team. Would 10 million be sufficient? She would not be able to afford more than 10 million. She had taken out practically all of her liquid assets for this movie and staked nearly her entire financial worth on this movie. This was a high-risk gamble. There could only be one acceptable outcome. Victory. 1% bonus of the total box office sales. It will be transferred into my company account. This should be okay. 1% bonus of a total box office sales of 3 billion was 30 million. He would just give a friendly price. Then again, why did he not get Alice to produce the entire movie and get more profits? Actually, this had been explained. A movie that had no director, no voice actors, and no production team belonged wholly in the category of third void movies. When it was released in the cinemas and violently seized box office sales in the billions, it would attract much attention and discussions. It was at least thousands of times riskier than selling his illegal gold. No matter how exaggerated the optimization of the images by Alice was, as long as he had collaborated with a lawful film-making team, he could roughly gloss over the explanations. Of course, his profits would be slightly reduced. Shi Xiaotao answered with alacrity, yes, that's no problem at all. 20 times 0. An amazing year. The 1st of August was a good day. At 8 p.m., at the Workers' Stadium in Shanghai City, a launch event for the new product by Xinghai Technologies was about to start with a grand note. Chapter 124, Launch of WAWA 2.0. Recently, Xinghai Technologies had been frequently posting on its official Weibo using catchphrases meant to attract netizens' attention, such as "Stunned Stupid," a product of a new era, and guaranteed sales of 100 million units, etc. The company had sufficiently warmed up the audience by doing pre-launch promotions. Hence, the launch event of the new product had attracted the attention of many. There were no empty seats in this stadium that could hold up to 30,000 people. It was filled to bursting. Hundreds of review organizations and related tech media came to attend the event as well. Some of the media journalists came prepared to laugh and ridicule. They wanted to see the company making a fool of itself and planned to do an expose. They had even prepared their articles' concepts with the intention of bad-mouthing Xinghai Technologies. This was because they could not tolerate the various dishonest actions carried out by the company for the past 6 months. In September, after shares of Zhongxin International dramatically rose by almost 30%, it suffered malicious short selling by big organizations, causing shares to crash by 30%. Its market value returned to the initial value of 30 billion. However, Xinghai Technologies refused to act as the buyback party. On the contrary, it successively increased its 1.2 billion worth of shareholdings. Through a series of maneuvers, its shareholding ratio was raised to 12%. Another mysterious project by Xinghai Technologies was exposed in October. They've revealed some information on their official Weibo account. However, investigations were carried out by interested persons. It was found that the project which Xinghai Technologies had invested more than 5 billion in is actually a learning machine. Pfft! Wasting 5 billion on learning machines? A rich company really can act as willfully as they like. Total sales volume of WAWA Robot 1.1 exceeded 6 million units at the end of November. Although demand still existed for the robot, Shanghai Technologies suddenly announced that it will stop production of WA 1.1. The market that it had nurtured into being not too long ago was suddenly faced with a large supply shortage. Thus, the scalpers struck gold yet again. In December, the shortage quantity of the smart cleaning robots had reached millions. Everywhere people were begging to buy one. There were no actions taken by Shanghai Technologies. It seemed that they had no intentions of restarting production. On the contrary, they seemed to have given up on this segment of the market. At the same time, as many as 8 companies in the country had announced that they've developed cleaning robots comparable to the WA 1.1. They are seeking to ruin themselves. They've been courting their ruin all this time. In our estimation, this new company, with its abrupt rise, will only live for a maximum of 2 more years. We will be witnessing a brainless and unthinking young man completely ruining himself in the shortest amount of time despite the lucky cards that he had been dealt. For the next 10 years, this young man will only be a joke that people remember from time to time. But, we will not have sympathy. The advice that should be given had been given. However, some will survive by refraining from certain actions. We're here to enjoy a company's death. These journalists that had been sent here by the various media companies had more or less judged that this launch event would end in failure. They would rather believe in ghosts than to believe that a company could still make a good product despite excessive engagement in dishonest activities. At 8 p.m. sharp, the opening music began to play. The CEO of Shanghai Technologies, Ling Jundong, walked up to the stage in a thick western suit. He wore an in-ear microphone and held a laser pointer. The launch event had officially begun. WA Robot 2.0 was launched with a bang. We've made improvements in several areas in the WA 2.0 so that it can achieve a more spotless state when cleaning the floor. For example, we've increased the rotational speed of the floating brush and employed brush heads with better quality materials. It can attain a cleanliness index of 99.99% for most cleaning scenarios. WA 2.0 has very nimble mechanical arms. With a definite ability to grasp objects, it can dispose of the rubbish in its trash container by itself. It can also pick up larger pieces of rubbish and throw it into the designated trash bin. After purchasing WA 2.0, humans have no need to pay any attention to the cleanliness of the floor besides dealing with the trash bin. We've most suitably termed it as the floorboard terminator. A second crucial function has been added as well. Protecting the family. Ling Yongdong paused to let the murmurs flutter through the crowd, then continued. That's right, WA 2.0 will be the guardian angel of every family. It can monitor the situation at home in real time in order to prevent burglary and loss of valuable items. It can also report a fire emergency in time for first responders to get there. If there are elderly at home who are physically ill, the WA 2.0 can help measure their heart rate and give a timely report about the state of their health. It can remind the children to pay more attention to their safety, such as not climbing onto the windowsills. An internal thermometer has been integrated into their internal components so that it can give a report as soon as possible when the children catch a cold and develop a fever. WA 2.0 will be the guardian angel of our families. Ling Yongdong smiled proudly. The third function that we have added is the family and social interaction mode. Please treat WA as one of your family members. The fourth function is the environmental protection and public welfare mode. Does everyone still remember the WA robot advertisement videos? What was the mission that WA had to complete on Earth? That's right. It has to protect the environment, it has to protect Earth. This is WA's responsibility as well as Shanghai Technologies' responsibility. If the user agrees to participate in activities to improve public welfare, WA will announce one I Love Protecting the Environment activity every week. This can include sweeping the surrounding housing estates, parks, and public facilities. It will direct its owner over to areas where it is unable to clean. For example, picking up rubbish in the underbushes or flowering shrubs. It will inform the owner of the different types of rubbish, explain the harm that it causes and indicate how to separate the different rubbish. It will lead the humans in contributing significant effort in environmental protection. He continued, in order to encourage people to love and protect the environment, Shanghai Technologies has drawn up an environmental protection point accumulation system. Each time that the user participates in an I Love Protecting the Environment activity, a certain number of points will be rewarded. When 1,000 points have been accumulated, we will provide a maintenance and repair session free of charge, even if it is past the quality guarantee period. When the user has accumulated 10,000 points, we'll give him a whole new WA robot for free. Lastly, we've added a gaming mode. Via this mode, your WA can grow continuously and increase its battle power. You will also be able to make many like-minded friends. Please, bring your WAs out and participate in battles together. Ling Zhendong's heart-stirring explanations, combined with the technician's live demonstrations, was incredible. At times, the product introduction was occasionally intense, inspiring and exciting. At other times, it was accompanied by gentle and moving music. A deafening rumble sounded. The entire stadium was shaken up. The audience was seething with excitement. Multitudes of voices could be heard shouting from the seats. I want to buy a WA robot like this. This robot is too amazing. It's too perfect. I don't want a cat or a dog. I only want WA. I never thought that I could participate in environmental protection and public welfare service like this. It's a company with a conscience. I'm buying because of its conscience. The WA 2.0 is a must-buy. It's shocking. This is the upgraded version 2.0? Compared to the WA 1.1, this is one giant upgrade that's aiming for the stars. No more meaningless little upgrades that are barely squeezed out. I'm done for. WA 1.1 was an early purchase. And WA 2.0 is so awesome that I don't even need a bicycle. Ruthless, Xinghai Technologies, you're too ruthless. I've only bought the WA 1.1 a few days ago. And you're introducing this new toy? Are you trying to mess with my mind? This is really attractive. Damn, this is really attractive. Forget it, I'll just buy another one. The moment Ling Zhendong asked, everyone, do you want to buy? Tens of thousands of the live audience stood up together and shouted collectively, buy. The enthusiasm of the audience was through the roof. What about those media organizations that bad-mouthed Xinghai Technologies? What were their thoughts on this event? Awkward. Extremely awkward. They looked at one another speechlessly. With faces red from embarrassment, they realized that what they had predicted was totally off the mark. Unconsciously, they shed their moral high grounds. The new headline concepts that they came up with started like this. Without a doubt, Xinghai Technologies remains the king of home cleaning robots. Pandering to the market? No, Xinghai Technologies intends to change the world. Remembering one's essential responsibility, how to make a product that shows a company's conscience and sense of responsibility. Making our lives more wonderful? WA 2.0 has achieved it. Should you buy WA 2.0? Of course you should, this is an essential product. And at this moment, the launch event had reached its most exciting and anticipated segment. Announcing the price of WA 2.0. Chapter 125. A sensation. We've prepared a total of 3 editions, there are 2 home use editions which are the classic and deluxe editions respectively. However, there are not many differences between the hardware of the 2 editions. There are also hardly any differences in their functions. There will be many differentiated versions of the deluxe edition. Each version will have its own unique color and embellishment, creating a very different appearance from other versions. Each version will definitely be limited to less than 1,000 units. There's also a custom-made commercial edition. Commercial users are still very important to us. As compared to the first generation, the 2.0 commercial version had undergone several heavy upgrading processes. However, as the environment in which the commercial edition is used is very different, the redundant home use function has been axed. There has only been a slight increase in the production costs of the 2.0 commercial edition. Finally, we will reveal their prices. After Ling Zhendong's words, a loud rumble could be heard across the stadium. It was as if a bombshell had dropped. A list of prices was shown on the huge screen behind him. WA 2.0 Home Use Classic Edition, $8,999. WA 2.0 Home Use Deluxe Edition, $10,999. WA 2.0 Custom Made Commercial Edition, $5,999. Of the 3 editions, the net profit margin of the Classic and Deluxe Home Use editions was guaranteed to reach 30% and above. This was much higher than the 22% net profit margin of WA 1.1. Unexpectedly, the custom-made commercial edition was the one with the best value for money. From a seat in one of the front rows, a voice grumbled in puzzlement. Its complaint rang in Chen Jin's ears. Why are there only 2 similarly configured editions launched for the home use WA? Why didn't you create a common edition with less powerful configurations and another Emperor edition with much better configurations? The range of selection is too small with only 2 editions. Chen Jin turned his head slightly and explained, it's not that we intend to reduce the range of selection for customers by coming up with only 2 editions. Instead, we've provided the best choices for selection. The available products provide the best value for your money. There will be no meaning in comparing them with other editions. In addition, by reducing the product variety, it can help to greatly reduce the after-sales costs borne by the company. This will increase the efficiency of our maintenance services and provide a better after-sales experience for our customers. After buying the WA robot, the user can rest assured that it will be in good working condition for the next 5 to 10 years. Besides wanting to be the best high-tech company, Xinghai Technologies also intends to have the best after-sales service. Only with this can we acquire a significant base of loyal customers. The girl nodded, you're right, but the price of $8,999 is a little too high. It's nearing $10,000. Are there many who can afford this? You can look at it this way. Purely as a cleaning robot, it's worth $3,999. As a professional home carer, it is worth at least $5,000. As a social robot that can bring you fun and joy, it's again worth another $3,000. As it has been imbued with the value of protecting the environment, it also functions as a robot for the welfare of the public. With this generous and loving attitude, it's worth at least another $2,000. After adding up all the roles it can play, do you think $10,000 for one unit is too much? For the deluxe edition of WA 2.0, one would get the equivalent of a custom-made skin as well as an action model that could work, all for the additional price of $2,000. Wasn't this price a real bargain? Chen Jin did not even have to explain this to the girl beside him. The response of the audience said everything. Buy. We have to buy. What? There are 1 million units of ready stock and we can make our order now? I want to make my order right now. Order successful. I've reached my ant credit limit. Starting from next month, I have to subsist on grass. Buy. I have a WA 1.1. But, I'm buying the WA 2.0 to manage my finances. I have an incoming $9,000 and I will spend $20,000. The differential of $10,000 will be used to buy my robot. That's right, I would bet that WA 2.0 is definitely this year's most value for money financial management product. 1 million units of ready stock is totally not enough to satisfy our appetites. It's out of stock? It's only been a few minutes and all 1 million units are gone. After the launch event of the new product had ended, on that very same night, it created a huge sensation online and generated some intense discussions. It immediately became the hottest topic on Weibo. Xinghai Technologies, you've used all your might to squeeze out this amazing series of upgrades from your reserves. The upgrades are so overwhelming, it's too awesome. Xinghai Technologies, I hate you. How little time has passed since I last bought WA 1.1. I'm even worse. I'm using a WA 1.0 that was bought less than a year ago. Now, I think it's even more outdated than the Symbian mobile phones that had been eliminated from the market. Xinghai Technologies, can I return my product? Can I exchange my unused model for this latest model? Can I pay to exchange the less powerful model for a better model? Xinghai Technologies is too damn ruthless. Have you thought about leaving some room for your competitors to survive? You're driving your friendly rivals onto the road of no return. 1 million units were all sold out within 5 minutes and 58 seconds. In mere moments, it achieved a revenue of almost 10 billion. The title of the most powerful company in 20x0 belongs to none other than Xinghai Technologies. I'm not buying. I'm determined to not buy it. I won't buy it even at gunpoint. Stop, 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 wife, stop. I'll buy. I'll buy. Wife, please put down the knife at my throat. From today onwards, even though you can badmouth Xinghai Technologies or cast aspersions on its development strategy, you can't underestimate this company. Without a doubt, it's still the most powerful contender in the field of cleaning robots. On the way back, Chen Jin received a call. He heard an anguished and blood-curdling wail. Brother Chen, the rumors in the industry say that I'm ruthless. But, you're way more ruthless. Your WA 2.0 will drive my Love Me robot out of the market. I'm ruined. The Love Me robot is completely ruined. It's impossible to sell even one unit in the domestic market now. I can't even earn a single penny. I can only continue to expand in the overseas market. But I've heard that you've stopped production of the WA 1.1. Why don't you consider packaging your technology and sell it at a reduced price to my Me company? Our Love Me robot is selling well overseas. I believe that overseas sales will increase significantly if we launch a Love Me Robot 2.0 with a technological standard similar to WA 1.1. Lei Xiaojun was feeling dramatically woebegone. However, as he spoke about his overseas success, he also felt extremely delighted in addition to the confusion and doubt that he was experiencing. This was due to the fact that soon after the Love Me robot was introduced in the overseas market, it rapidly gathered momentum, and a storm for the Love Me brand was suddenly created. Sales volume soared past some 10 million units within half a year. Countless had been converted into Me fans. Xinghai Technologies had no ambitions to become an international company and did not place much importance on the overseas markets. If not for this fact, it was unlikely that the Me company could even earn a single penny on their products. It would even be more unlikely that revenues from the overseas markets became the biggest contributor to the company's profit growth in the past year. Thus, the Me company was able to generate a very positive financial statement. The Me company experienced a breakthrough last year, 20x9, as its net profits soared past 15 billion, of which the Love Me robot had contributed significantly. Hence Lei Xiaojun had set his sights upon the WA 1.1 by Xinghai Technologies. Even though it was a product that had been culled, he still wanted to purchase the technological copyrights of that product. With a bitter laugh, he thought helplessly, I'd never imagined that I would be targeting the rubbish abandoned by others. Of course, it was only rubbish to Xinghai Technologies. To the Me company, it was a treasure that could generate more profits. Okay, copyright fees are $250 per unit. Is this acceptable? Yes, that's totally fine. This little bit of copyright fee would merely raise the Love Me robot's basic selling price by a few percentage points. Overseas customers would still buy the product. Lei Xiaojun asked another question, Brother Chen, the WA 2.0 from your company is a very good product indeed. It has huge market potential. Why didn't you introduce it to the overseas market? If you have no intention to establish an overseas sales channel, would you consider working with the Me company? We've established excellent sales channels in more than 30 countries, we can help to sell this model of robot overseas. I believe that this product will be very popular in the overseas market. Why don't we work together and earn crazy amounts from foreign customers? That's not necessary. On his end of the phone, Chen Jin shook his head. WA 2.0 is meant for the domestic consumers. Why would foreigners use such an advanced robot? They can simply use the slightly outdated Love Me robot. In this way, the overseas market share that the Love Me robot has painstakingly carved out for itself will not be intruded upon. Brother Lei, you can consider earning more money for yourself. You're right, if WA 2.0 is introduced to the overseas market, the Love Me robot will be pushed out of business. Lei Xiaojun became energized again. He smiled. Brother Chen, thanks for giving your buddy some business. You're too polite. Let's work together in the future. The two ended their conversation. Chapter 126, Nationwide Shopping Spree. Since the 8th of January, which was the official release date of the WA Robot 2.0, millions of units were sold out within minutes. Subsequently, Xinghai Technologies maintained their usual stock everyday style, releasing up to 50,000 units of stock every day. In spite of that, they still could not supply the demand. Every day, it was sold out within minutes. Xinghai Technologies had taken many measures to prevent scalpers from stockpiling. Despite their efforts, the scalpers still gained a fortune. WA Robot 2.0 in the second-hand market was sold at prices above 15,000, any of them below this price would be bought by those in desperate need within a shorter time. According to surveys, among the consumers that were panic buying the WA Robot 2.0, as many as 27.3% of them had previously bought the WA 1.0 or WA 1.1. In the household of those people, they were not lacking a WA robot. But they still decided to buy another unit of the latest model. 5% of the users bought all three versions of the WA robot, the WA 1.0, WA 1.1 and WA 2.0. Buying another one would be unnecessary, but those users expressed themselves helplessly by saying, I really can't control myself, I just feel like buying it, so I placed my order. Not long after, millions of WA 2.0 were put into service in millions of households, throughout the Z Nation's entire short video sharing websites, social media, and news reports. The networking platforms were flooded by the WA 2.0 one after another. On Douyin, Kuaishou, and other short video platforms, videos were piling up. WA, give me a smile. WA, sing me xiao pingguo. WA, perform a robot dance. In today's I Love the Environment activity, I brought my household WA robot to clean a 1000 square meter plaza and collected a full 10 echo points. We fought against other robots for 2 times and we achieved absolute victory. Mommy is going to work, take care of the house, WA. Within social media platforms, there were many people who posted their daily lives with the WA robot. Many funny moments with the robot were recorded, on which they had gotten countless like reactions. In just a few days, several media reports pushed the WA 2.0 fever to a new pinnacle. 17th, the police in the A district received a mysterious phone call. The caller claimed itself to be the WA robot named Abeo. Abeo told the police that an unfamiliar man came into its master's premise and was currently flipping stuff all around the house searching for valuables. Abeo suspected that he's a thief and requested the police to come and seize him. Abeo provided the police the exact address. 15 minutes later, the man by the name of Mr. Su, who committed burglary, was caught by the police. Up until the moment Mr. Su was caught, he did not know how his plans had failed. 18th, the civilian hospital in the B district received an emergency phone call. The caller claimed itself to be Dodo the robot. Dodo said that the elderly under its care had a sudden illness and there was nobody home. It requested for doctors to provide aid. 10 minutes later, medical staff and the patient's family arrived at the premise at the same time. After rescue efforts, the old man was out of the danger zone. The doctor said that if the old man were to be admitted to the hospital another 5 minutes later, he could have lost his life. 19th midnight, a fire broke out in some small area within the C district, but because of the timely report made by the robot Dodo, firefighters arrived just on time. The fire was quickly controlled, and people were evacuated on time. It only caused minor losses. House owner Mr. Lee told the reporters that fortunately, Dodo alarmed the authorities just in time. If it wasn't for Dodo discovering the fire and woke his family, when the fire intensified, his family would have died. Dodo saved their lives. 20th afternoon, 2 children in the D district seized the chance to climb up to the balcony's stainless steel window to play when their parents were absent. Robot Sweetie Pie became aware of the situation and after reminding efforts were to no avail, it contacted their parents. The children's parents rushed home, pulled the kids off the window and punished them. The father of the kids told reporters that the balcony's stainless steel windows were severely corroded, 3 screws had already dropped off. The floor they are staying in is the 18th floor. To date, the WA robot has assisted the police in capturing 13 burglars, saved 8 elderly, reduced potential loss in 3 fire outbreaks, reported special situations of 37 children to their parents, and even calling 911 and preventing some cases of domestic violence that might cause death. It can be seen that the WA robot will pull off more similar feats in the future and become the patron saint of even more families. Are you still hesitating to buy a WA robot? Is the $8,000 price hindering your decision? If something happens to the elderly in your home when you are not around, when your child has a fever and you are not beside them, when all kinds of accidents that might lead to tragedy happens and you are not present, you will regret, and ask why didn't I buy a WA robot? After the passage above appeared in the comment section of the news report on the contributions of the WA robot, and appeared in the linked article of the WeChat Friends Circle, netizens were unable to keep their calm. Stop it, stop saying those words, I'll buy it all right. I'll buy one for my mother, she's not in that good of a condition and I'm too busy at work, I'll let WA stay by her side. When there's a WA robot at home taking care of the kids, it eases my heart a lot. Don't hit me my wifey, I have been trying to buy it for 3 days, give me one last chance. This will be the last time and I'll definitely get one today. Hubby, if you still refuse to buy me a WA robot, I am divorcing you. When WA is here, will you still dare to hit me? Prevent domestic violence, buy WA, my fellow sisters. From now on, no WA, no marriage. Yes, no WA, no marriage. It was uncovered. The value of the WA robot was thoroughly uncovered. It was the ultimate floor cleaner, keeping households at their cleanest state. It was a family's patron saint, safeguarding peace, harmony, and wholeness in each family. It was the angel of environmental protection, shouldering the conquest to protect Mother Earth's environment. It was brought around the community and public places, making them clean and comfortable. When it was bringing more and more wonderful changes in people's lives, people were no longer complacent. The way they looked at the WA robot changed, they started yearning, envying, and desiring it. People that used this product could distinctively feel that their lives were getting better and their happiness index rising. In the case of middle-aged woman Yan Meiling, after her WA 2.0 was delivered, in addition to her previous WA 1.0 and 1.1, she had 3 WA robots at home. All of them brought upon her countless joyous moments. She was completely freed from depression and she started to enjoy her life in happiness. There were many similar cases of hers that can be listed out. Therefore, it had gone wild. The sales of the WA 2.0 had totally gone wild. The 50,000 units that were released every day were depleting faster than ever. The scalpers were unscrupulously inflating its price. One unit of WA 2.0 was tagged at 20,000, even 30,000, but there was no need to worry about it not selling. Nowadays, the most popular greeting was, "Have you got it today?" In daily meetings, conversations, the sentence that would bring upon envious eyes was, "I got my hands on the WA robot." Even more, the WA robot became a symbol that symbolized the middle-class status. Households that did not have a WA robot were not qualified to be classified as middle-class and call themselves a well-off family. Facing the sudden exponential surge in market demands, facing scalpers running wild and the netizens' complaints, seeing high technologies seemed to be in quite a terrible fix. They announced with panic that they would go all out in increasing production capacity. Chen Jin invested 2 billion in Lingfeng Jingmi Company and obtained 15% of their market shares. He tasked Wang Chuanlong to use this money to establish an OEM production line in order to boost the production of the WA 2.0 to above 100,000 units per day. Chapter 127, Movie Release. January 28, on the Lunar Spring Festival, after dinner, Chen Jin's family of 3 wore cold-proof windbreaker jackets, wrapped a scarf around their necks, and armed themselves with thick clothing. They headed towards the Wanda shopping complex located not far from the community and took the lift to the movie theater located on the 3rd floor of the shopping complex. He took out his phone, opened a QR code, and swiped it over the ticket machine. 4 movie tickets spat out from the ticket dispenser. He gave 2 of them to his parents. For the other ticket, he gave it to Soo-yoon, who was currently buying popcorn. That's right, Soo-yoon tagged along. She was wearing a brown overcoat that was specially designed to express her wonderful feminine curves, a knitted white high-collar woolen sweater which covered her long alluring neck, a draped checkerbox scarf that embodied her cold and elegant temperament, black leggings to cover her stunning legs, and round leather boots that made her look rather petite. The woman in sight was at least a 9 out of 10 beauty. Especially for her cold and elegant temperament, more than 80% of people would turn their heads over to look at her on the streets. Today, however, she tagged along Chen Jin and his family to watch a movie. This was what Chen Jin was most perplexed and puzzled about. He even directly questioned her, "Soo-yoon, you are already in your 30s, why are you not spending the Lunar New Year at home? Is it that you don't want to go home? The tax bureau has a lot of work to be done at the end of the year. This is our busiest time. I can only go back after the New Year." Soo-yoon explained herself, but how could she have not wanted to go home? No matter how busy her department was, they would still give holidays during the Lunar New Year. But, her manager asked her to stay for another 2 days. First, the traffic would be less congested. Secondly, she could really do some things and find 1 or 2 opportunities or so. After finishing, her manager madly gave hints to her with her eyes. "All right." Soo-yoon nodded her head gently as her pretty face turned red. Her manager even allowed her to spend 2 nights in her guest room for her to learn some accounting knowledge. Sleeping at the manager's house? She got stunned listening to these few words. Her heart was beating rapidly, her face blushed until the back of her ear, even a large portion of her snow-white neck turned red. Without knowing what was going on, she actually nodded her head. She was mumbling the few words, learn accounting, learn accounting. It was all just for the sake of learning. Putting learning aside, being able to see him every day, always at his opposite when taking a meal and including today's movie time with him, it was all just methods to release stress from learning. I never had thought about this too much before. Anyways, it was all the director's idea, and my parents also want me to have a good relationship with my superiors. Soo-yoon felt that her train of thought was getting all over the place. She felt embarrassed to the extent that she wanted to dig a hole and hide inside. As a woman, she had never felt so panicked and confused as she was at that moment. But towards her director's arrangements, her heart never once showed any sign of defiance. About the complex fluctuations in a woman's heart, Chen Jin knew nothing, and was not interested to explore it either. They entered the movie theater and sat down in their seats. What Chen Jin was more concerned about was the turn-up rate in the movie theater. Viewers entered the cinema one after another. Before the show, he quietly calculated the turn-up rate within the theater. Aside from the first 2 rows, all the other seats are basically filled, so the turn-up rate should be above 85%. At that time, the music sounded, and the movie officially began. Chattering could be heard coming from the entrance. Quick, the movie is starting. The queue is too long at the elevator downstairs, the movie has already been going for almost a minute, if we are late for another few minutes, we will need to ask people beside us to fill us in. Quickly take your seat and watch the movie. People that came in later almost filled the seats at the 2 front rows. The turn-up rate was at least at 95% or above. Immediately, Chen Jin took out his phone. Using his data, which was clearly laggier than it used to be, he inquired to his friends about the turn-up rate in other movie theaters via WeChat. Yuan Li, the movie theater you are in, is the turn-up rate okay? What are your estimations? Shizuo Tao, are you in the movie theaters? How is the turn-up rate at your side? Zhang Nan, did you and Zhao Xian manage to grab 2 tickets for yourselves? Are you in the cinema? Assistant Zhen, are you in the cinema watching the anime movie based on our company's product? How is the turn-up rate over there? After the messages were sent, he got successive replies fairly quickly. Director Dong's daughter said, I'm in the movie theater, my gosh, there are so many people here, all seats are basically filled, I don't recall seeing an empty seat, the turn-up rate here should be 100%. Shizuo Tao said, I am 100% sure that the turn-up rate over here is 100%. Actually, I've already watched this move over 100 times and have already memorized every line. Now, I'm just watching the people that show up, according to my observations on the age composition of the audiences that entered the theater, ahaha, just as I expected, this is a family movie that is meant to be enjoyed with the whole family. There are elderly, kids, parents, those who came in were mostly families. Zhang Nan replied, me and Zhao Xian didn't get to enter the cinema, currently being slapped by the cold winds outside. I told him to buy the tickets earlier, but he just wouldn't listen. He told me we can get the tickets on the spot, I chided him and now he's not talking. We bought tickets for the second screening at 8 p.m, we'll just chill around in the mall for a while. Assistant Zhen replied, I'm watching the movie now. The seats are all filled. By the way, I don't know what happened back there when I bought the tickets. I bought tickets for WA Robot, a brilliant and brave rescue, but on the receipt, it was written Dream Era. I told the staff that there was a problem. They told me it was some minor fault with the equipment, and it won't affect normal viewing. Upon seeing Assistant Zhen's reply, a phrase popped out in Chen Jin's mind. Box office fraud. He asked Assistant Zhen to use his phone to take a photo of his tickets and send it to him. He then forwarded the photo to Shizuo Tao and informed her about the situation. Shameless thief! Shizuo Tao ground her teeth out of immense rage. A lot of people shared a similar situation with me. They told me that our movie tickets were stolen by theaters all over the country. Even those unknown, low-tiered cinemas want a piece of us, just how much will our box office get dragged down? I won't let them get off with this easily, I will call the police and sue them. I'll make them spit out everything that was ours. Chen Jin said, calm down. On this matter, as long as we have evidence, Sarfeet and the Cinema Alliance will handle them. It is said that there are exclusive legal punishments on this, they won't be able to steal too much of our box office. After consoling Shizuo Tao, a burst of laughter came to his ears. In the movie, punchlines were always there for the laughs and giggles. The character Wa in the movie subjugated every audience with its cuteness. Moreover, the exquisite animation had the people's eyes stuck onto the big screen as they fully indulged in the movie. As the story deepened, the chaotic fight scene between the Wa robot and the human trafficker rendered the audience hysterical. Wa robot, a brilliant and brave rescue, could be described as a zero-p break movie. After an hour and a half, the movie ended. The audience stood up and left the cinema with something inside of them that was yearning for more. Chen Jin overheard the conversation between a family of 3. Hubby, this movie is really good, it's hilarious and touching at the same time. Yet, world-class pictures and perfection in every single frame. Just watching those will be worth our tickets. Daddy, Mommy, I want a WA robot, buy one for me please, said a little girl with her tender voice. Don't worry my sweetheart, Daddy is trying eagerly to buy one every day, I promise I'll get you one sweetheart, said a man towards his daughter in his arms. Yay! That's great, we are going to have a WA in our home, thank you Daddy. The little girl was elated and pecked her father on the cheek many times. Chapter 128, Upside Down. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, the movie WA Robot, A Brilliant and Brave Rescue officially hit the big screens. It successfully aired during the New Year film slot that was the golden period of ticket sales. The big cinemas were all positive on the potential of the movie. As the movie was a family-orientated comedy film, its raw piece rate was at above 30%. Even so, the raw piece rate was still too low. The reason was that the turn-up rate in the cinemas showing the WA Robot film was generally above 80% and 90%. There were also many cases of a 100% turn-up rate at the cinemas, and scenes of severe crowding. The movie broke many records for the highest turn-up rate in various cinemas. For example, the Wanda Mall Cinema, which accounted for the largest market shares of the cinema outlet, had a turn-up rate of a whopping 93.27% for the first screening, which exceeded the runner-up by over 50%. The numbers were scary. It was the same in the other big cinemas. Time passed quickly. Morning sessions, night sessions, and late night sessions, all 3 waves of screening periods had passed. The raw piece rate, turn-up rate, real-time box office, and other statistical data were continuously fluctuating and being renewed and recalculated. When the clock passed 12 midnight, in Hangzhou City, cheers that trembled the skies came from within a studio named Dao Tao Films. It is broken, the record has been broken. We have broken the records for the highest daily box office for the New Year film slot and the nationwide record for highest daily box office. 788 million, we are ahead by 200 million compared to the runner-up. Miss Tao, we can certainly hold this record for a very long time. Humph. It was actually possible to break 800 million on the first day, but there were too many people stealing our box office. We urged the internet to help collect evidence and realized that at least tens of millions of box office had been stolen, we must get back what we lost. Shi Xiaotao ground her teeth. Hitting 800 million box office on the first day was a very auspicious number, but those shameless thieves gobbled up a large piece of it. She would not stay idle in this matter. She would wield the weapon of law and defend her rights of profit. When she was sending a message to Chen Jin via WeChat to report the good news, despite still being angry, she could not keep herself from boasting, 788 million on the first day, it is confirmed that the total box office will break 5 billion. Ah, rookie director, first work piece, and I debut directly at the pinnacle. Indulging in the loneliness of being unrivaled, can you understand the state of my heart now, Mr. Chen? I can, congratulations. Chen Jin, who was currently watching the Spring Festival Gala with his parents, replied to her with a smile. His mother shifted her head towards him and asked, "How was it, son? Is the box office announced?" "Yes, 788 million, it broke box office records for the New Year film slot as well as the national box office record." "That's great. Watching this Spring Festival Gala made me tired, but now I'm all energetic." He Li was enraptured in a state of euphoria and was very excited. "Wow!" His father beside him couldn't help but exclaim, "Almost 800 million in just one day, won't it become a few billions in another few days?" "Son, you said that you had quite some market shares in this movie, you can definitely earn a lot from this, am I right?" Chen Jin turned his head and asked out of confusion, Dad, why are you suddenly interested in this?" His dad was the quintessential example of someone who valued simplicity in life. Towards money, his concept was always to have just enough. Chen Gang smiled bitterly and said, "I became sensitive after all the questions I've been getting recently, people keep on asking me, your son's net worth was already in the billions, why are you still wearing these kinds of shirts, and your son is so rich, why are you still driving this shoddy car? So I intend to buy a few clothes that are more expensive and change to a better car. I'm already annoyed by all those questions. I wonder what price range for the car will be suitable." He shook his head and sighed, only now I realize, it is quite stressful being the father of a billionaire. Why don't I give you a red packet so you can buy a better car? Asked Chen Jin. That won't be necessary, I have some savings with your mom, so I won't need your money. I have decided on the car as well, the red flag H8 made in our country, its price is about 500,000, my company manager is driving this car as well. That should keep their mouths shut, right? Chen Jin gave a big thumbs up. Driving the same car as your company manager, you are slaying it, Dad. Upon hearing about red packets, He Li looked at So Yoon, who was sitting at the edge of the sofa. She moved over, picked up her phone, and said, So Yoon, today is New Year's Eve, I have to give red packets, here's one, please take it. So Yoon, on the other hand, kept on staring at the television screen. She was not focusing her eyes but in a state of daze. She had yet recovered from the immense feeling of shock. 788 million box office, how much could he earn from that? Even just 1% will be more than what I earn in a lifetime. So Yoon, So Yoon. He Li called her twice, and finally she came around and heard what her manager was saying. Here's a red packet for you, take it. I don't want it, Mrs. Chen. Just take it as I asked you to, you must not refuse something from your elders. After quite a moment of runarounds, So Yoon finally accepted the red packet. She opened it and saw $1,300 in it. She immediately tried to return it, but her manager still insisted she take it and dropped her a hint, saying, I don't give red packets to other common girls. So Yoon blushed yet again. Over 2 consecutive days, the movie Wa Robot, A Brilliant and Brave Rescue's box office continued its uphill climb. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, as the row-piece rate increased, the box office pierced 925 million and broke the nationwide records for the highest daily box office once again. On the second day, as the movie spread via word of mouth, the number of people that came to the cinema further increased. There were some who even came to watch the movie for a second and third time. The daily box office hit 946 million, renewing the records once again. In just 3 days, the box office for this movie accumulated to a massive 2.659 billion. There were even hopes for this movie to realize 5 billion in box office during the New Year film slot, becoming the second movie in the Z Nation to enter the 5 billion club. Because of the movie's powerful trends, some speculated that it might very well surpass Battleground 2, ascending the throne and becoming the Z Nation's top box office hit. The forums went crazy as the internet users posted various discussions. In the end, over 70% of internet users agreed that Wa Robot, A Brilliant and Brave Rescue had hopes to top the chart. Aside from discussions about the box office, regarding the quality of this move, on movie rating websites, some professional audiences and movie analysts gave their opinions. 7 out of 10, a qualified production film. I'll give an 8 out of 10, we should commend this local movie director of the Z Nation who is capable of producing such a film, which was technically speaking at Hollywood levels. This reflects that our local film industry is gradually moving forward. New work of a rookie director achieving this level of excellence. If I give her a full 10 she might get conceited. A 9 it is then. I hope she continues to produce better movies. However, there was a well-known movie analyst that gave the movie a 0 and criticized, humph. 0 value, 0 artistic quality, but a remarkable advertisement indeed. Some could not stand his comments and aggressively replied on his review. The slight hopes for Z Nation's local film industry will be destroyed in the hands of arrogant professionals like you. 0 value? I and my family felt amusement, compassion, warmth, and had wonderful memories in the cinema. And that will be value in its art. Even if it's an advertisement, it will still be an 8 out of 10 advertisement. The movie is a 0 in your eyes, you on the other hand have a negative value in my impression, trash movie analyst, get out from the film reviewing industry. Overall, the movie Wa Robot, A Brilliant and Brave Rescue received a lot more affirmations and praises than criticisms and slanders. Regarding questions about the movie like why its box office was so high and why can it potentially break the records to become the highest grossing film in the Z Nation, there was an article named The Wa Robot Effect written by professionals that provided clear explanations for the realization for its readers. Chen Jin also read this article, and immediately his mind was enlightened. When I first invested in Shizio Tao to make this movie, my only intention was to advertise the Wa 2.0 with the help of this movie to boost its sales. But the WA 2.0 which was released earlier created a wave of massive uproar and the fever towards it was at its peak. And at this very moment, the WA Robot movie aired, surfing on the WA Robot heat wave, and it caused a nationwide movie frenzy. So, as what was written in this article, in this trade-off, WA 2.0's sales will not have significant increase because of the movie. But the movie box office, on the other hand, will have hopes to outstrip the rest because of the WA Robot. My initial thought was not wrong, but it was all flipped around. It was totally upside down. Chapter 129, Uncle's Grudge. On the third day of the Lunar New Year, there was knocking on the door. Someone came to pay a New Year visit. The one that came was no stranger, but in fact it was his mother's second brother, Higuofu. This time, his uncle came with his whole family. They carried a lot of things in their hands. "Hello bro, you're home as well." Higuofu's son, He Haitao, had wide eyes upon seeing Chen Jin, who opened the door. He gave him a smile from ear to ear. He looked up to Chen Jin as his idol. After entering the house, he whispered in Chen Jin's ear, "Bro, you are my idol now." 2 days ago, when he visited his grandparents' house, He Haitao had already met his cousin. However, he was almost squeezed to death. A bunch of wimpy kids surrounded Chen Jin, asking for autographs, photos, and red packets. Their piercing screams made those who were unaware think that it was a fan meeting of some international artist. Of course, He Haitao got himself an autograph, and he was the first one to get it. An autograph of the future billionaire and the boss of a tech giant, how many people would become envious of it? He Haitao kept his autograph in a dignified manner. He thought that the autograph would be worth millions and even become a precious relic, and so he vowed to pass it down to his descendants. He Haitao did not realize that his screams and shouts that day were on par with those wimpy kids. During the New Year's visit at the He family, the family that enjoyed the limelight was naturally He Li's family. They became the spotlight in the He family. Chen Jin's grandfather, He Changho, was smiling widely. He dragged Chen Jin to sit beside him. He received a mysterious gift from Chen Jin, and after he was told about its features, he was stunned. Tears rolled down from his aged face. "This is hope for the rise of our country." Chen Jin said, "Wei Gong, you must live until 100 years old and witness the Z nation's era of might and prosperity." "Good, good," his grandfather told him. Aunt He Jie, who was always in the spotlight in the past, was cast aside and became literally transparent this year. She kept quiet as she listened to her elder sister sharing her parenting experience. The melancholy in her heart shadowed her spirit. There was other good news, however. Uncle He Guojiang was promoted as the vice mayor of Suhing City. He was taking the wheel in building the second large-scale foundry in the industrial park under his administration. He found billions of investments in just a short time, and so he was valued by his superiors because of his excellent performance. Because of this, He Guojiang's face was beaming with pride. Even the volume he spoke at became significantly louder. The vexation between his eyebrows also vanished. He pulled Chen Jin to a corner in private and said, "Chen Jin, on that matter, thanks to you, really." He felt relieved being able to enter the municipal party committee before he turned 50, as it meant that his future in politics was cinched. Chen Jin smiled lightly. Inside the house, He Li took the things from her brother's hands. "Just coming is enough, why are you bringing so many things?" she asked, a weird expression on her face. "Sis, these things are all special products. You can't find them on the market. It took Manhong lots of effort to get these." He Guofu looked at his wife and winked. Lu Manhong got his hint, and with a broad smile, she said, "Sis, all of these things aren't worth a lot, but they are very effective in facial nourishment and enriching the blood." He Li glanced at her and nodded. "That's very considerate of you." Lu Manhong instantly felt relieved. In the afternoon, He Li and Lu Manhong joined forces in the kitchen. Lunch was very sumptuous, with duck, fish, and seafood dishes covering the entire dining table. The dishes were scrumptious. He Guofu finally brought up his other motive for this New Year visit. "Jin, why don't you give me the intellectual property for the WA Robot series? My company's film-making department can definitely make a better sequel." Lu Manhong could not hold herself back and said, "That's right Jin, keep the goodies within the family. Your uncle's company has produced 8 TV series and 5 movies within the past few years. His company signed more than 80 artists and has an experienced production team. So, why don't you give the IP4WA robot to your uncle? Chen Jin began mulling as his eyebrows tightened. What's the issue, Jin, do you feel conflicted? Actually, there is no need to feel conflicted, changing partners is normal. If you feel uneasy telling your current partner, I can do it for you, said He Guofu. Lu Manhong added, business partnership is just like this, the only thing to consider is who will be more suitable, and not partnership history. Your uncle will be the best fit for this. He's not. Chen Jin shook his head vigorously. Uncle, I can't give you the IP4WA robot, I'm not at ease giving it to you, so. I'm very sorry. He Guofu was stunned by his straightforward rejection. Not being able to adjust to the situation, he said with a smear of emotion, why? Jin, don't you remember how much I doted on you when you were still a kid? I was reluctant to spend half of my monthly salary just to buy you the Transformer set you loved. Did you forget? Uncle, of course I remember how well you treated me, but don't you have self-consciousness on your company's movie production qualities? Chen Jin shook his head. That movie that was quite popular on the internet recently, Mainland Assault, was your company's production, am I correct? What do you think about its quality? Commander-level characters being unable to catch up to mere fighters, plus they're on horses as well. Tell me, can you even bear to watch a film like this? Uncle, the brand image of the WA robot is very important, its brand value far exceeds $1 billion box office. I can't let the WA robot's brand value plummet just for some movie tickets. Sorry was all he could say. He Haitao also mocked his father, Dad, just let your company work on ads and forget about making films. Mainland Assault was such an incredible novel, and yet your film adaptation made so many changes to it. When people asked me about it, I just felt like digging a hole and hide inside. Dad, you are seriously not meant for this. Lu Manhong gave him a fierce stare. Who mocks his own father like that? When we go back I'll teach you a lesson. Ahem, He Guofu coughed continuously. The emotion that resided within him instantly faded. It was replaced by immense awkwardness. He realized that he was unable to counter what Chen Jin had said. His son's mockery made his face red, and he was unable to spout any words. To console his uncle, Chen Jin said, Uncle, you can invest in WA Robot's sequel, or send some technical staff over and join Shizuo Tao's team to let them learn about movie production. He Guofu's eyes brightened. Sure, I'll invest. 300 million. I want to invest 300 million. I can't have a say on this, it depends on whether Shizuo Tao allows it or not, the most I can assure you is 100 million. Now, Shizuo Tao became the most sought-after movie director within the country. In addition to her owning the intellectual property for WA Robot, many investors were striving to give her money. She was not worried at all about funding. On the other hand, she had to worry about offending others if she were to reject their investments. I'm afraid that Shizuo Tao won't be elated with Uncle's 300 million investment, she might feel difficult instead. Alright, I'll invest 100 million for now. If I can add on in the future, do inform me right away Jin. No problem. After the New Year's visit. Downstairs. Lu Manhong quickly held and pinched He Haitao's ears. You bastard, who talks about their father like that? Your father and I wasted our doting on you. Ah, it hurts, sorry mom, sorry, I was wrong. He Haitao begged his mother for mercy. Is it really true? I'm not meant for movie making. He Guofu, on the other hand, looked like he had taken a beating on the inside, falling into a state of self-doubt. Chapter 130, Guard Robots and Avatar Robots. On planet Hierophant, at the base of operations, a tremendous change occurred about half a year ago. The robots shoveled the ground and built expansively, transforming Base of Operations 1.0 into Base of Operations 2.0. Now in the Base of Operations, there were 5 zones. The Eastern Zone, Western Zone, Southern Zone, Northern Zone, and the Central Zone. The Eastern Zone was the warehouse area, it covered an area of 19 square kilometers. A large number of material warehouses were erected from the ground, in which they were used to store various resources. The Western Zone covered an area of 19 square kilometers as well. Oodles of capsule factories and pipeline factories were located there. The zone was used to carry out industrial production activities. The Southern Zone was assigned as the airport/garage space, covering an area of 28 square kilometers, a portion of it was outside the base of operations. Innumerable cars and aircrafts were parked there. The northern zone was the scientific research zone, spanning 19 square kilometers across. A large number of scientific research centers was built within the area. The supercomputer, for instance, which consumed a large amount of energy and emitted powerful electromagnetic radiation, was placed within the cryogenic machine chamber that resided within the scientific research zone. The central zone was the residential area, covering an area of 2.5 square kilometers. In these few months, a 5-story bungalow that was meant for Chen Jin, a modern 15-story office building, several functional buildings, and a central square was built. The steel plate houses that were meant for temporary usage all vanished. The 20,000 tons of gold that Chen Jin initially planned to use in building a golden castle became the flooring tile for the central square, turning it into a golden square. Why was the plan for the golden castle scrapped? The reason was that gold has high density but a soft structure, so without additional support, it alone could not be the sole constitution of a castle. Some components like rebar needed to be mixed in for further reinforcement, only then would the structure stay firm. But as time passed by, some load-bearing parts would still deform. Forget it, a golden castle with rebar in it is not a golden castle, it would be a rebar-gold mixed castle. It's unworthy of its name. Cancel this project. As someone who valued purity, after the gold was made into golden square tiles, Chen Jin let the robots pave it on the center square floor, which spanned over 20,000 square meters. After the whole floor was covered, he discovered that the effects were equally astonishing. Aside from that, the apparent source of the electrical supply for the base of operations mainly came from the energy center located 100 kilometers east of the base. Tremendous energy from the energy center came from the 4 units of nuclear fission reactors disassembled from the Everlasting Truth spaceship. Each reactor provided up to 500 megawatts of generated power. It would be 2,000 megawatts in total adding up all 4. In addition, with the high-voltage cables supplying electrical energy from the wind farm, the base would not have to worry about energy supply issues for a considerable amount of time. This time, Chen Jin came to the base of operations because of one thing. Inside the office building, facing the virtual projection, he said, "Alice, have you completed those things I tasked you with?" "It was completed, Master, please turn and have a look." After Alice finished her words, an automated door opened behind him. Footsteps could be heard as a few humanoid machines walked through the door. These humanoid machines had the same height, skin tone, facial features, and behavior as humans. No difference could be distinguished. When people touched it with their hands, they could feel the warmth on its surface. When people took the pulse, they would feel similar heartbeats as theirs. They had rich facial expressions, able to express emotions just like humans. They could even eat, defecate, talk, sleep, emulating every human behavior. Human replica robots. It was an ultimate bionic robot with 95% similarity to real humans. The few human replica robots could even go through a security check by the security inspectors in the highest security airport, completely undetected. Throughout the past 6 months, aside from the reconstruction project in the base of operations, the only thing that artificial intelligence Alice could do was find ways to create a few units of human replica robots. Apparently, Alice had finally completed her task. She presented them to Chen Jin. "Master, due to insufficiency in some materials and the base of operation being yet incapable of production, only 6 units of human replica robots were produced. According to your orders, 5 of them are guard robots. Installed with ultra batteries and programmed with gun mastery and top combat skills, even when unarmed they can produce a punch of 800 newtons and move a small car. They will go all out to ensure your safety. Another unit is the avatar robot. Its height, weight, and appearance is technically the same as yours. To further improve likelihood, its artificial bones, muscles, and blood usage are higher, causing its structural strength to be weaker compared to the guard robots. But it is also installed with ultra batteries and can produce a punch of 500 newtons, thus capable of self-defense to a certain degree." Alice continued, "Master, the base has been striving to improve R&D and manufacturing capabilities. In another half a year by estimation, I will be able to solve the materials production issue and mass-produce the human replica robots you desire. Please be patient for a little while longer." Chen Jin nodded his head. "Very good, Alice, 5 guards and 1 avatar robot, they will suffice for now." Of course, Chen Jin wanted these human replica robots to bring them to Earth for his own safety purposes. There was no need to elaborate on the strength of the guard robots. With an 800 Newton punch force, in close combat situations, even 10 human soldiers or elites from the special force would get easily bested within minutes. The avatar robot served an even greater purpose. It could be used as a diversion to conceal the real deal. If the avatar encountered danger, it could very well solve the problem on its own with its 500 Newton punch. If Chen Jin broke the law, the avatar could even take his place in jail while he continued to roam freely. Of course, this was only an assumption, as Chen Jin was always a law-abiding citizen. In conclusion, what the avatar robot could do was simply too much, the aid it could provide was innumerable. Therefore, Chen Jin wanted to bring all 5 guard robots and the avatar robot to Earth. 4 guard robots would stay by his side. Then, he would buy another luxurious villa and place the avatar robot and 1 guard robot in it. Occasionally, he would arrange the avatar to attend some public activities and frequently make it roam the streets under broad daylight. It did not need to be very high profile, it would suffice if people were able to recognize it as him. But a few problems arose. A few living beings appearing out of nowhere, how could their identity issues be solved? This question was killing his brain cells. The issue could be easily settled for the avatar robot. Just let the capsule factory clone his own ID, and it would be fully functional. As for the guard robots, he could let Alice hack into the public security system, extract the files for missing people, then make the guard robots look like them. Or he could make a bolder move by hacking into the public security system intranet using technical means and directly register a few new identities. But to play it safe, in the end, Chen Jin asked Alice to obtain the identity information of 5 people who had either no family, been smuggled abroad, or declared deceased by various reasons, and let the guards assume their identity. The probability of them being discovered was near 0. With these few units of human replica robots, Chen Jin's personal safety was greatly assured. Even if he could not avoid showing up in various public events, he could still remain calm without worrying that he might be targeted. The avatar robot could be his disguise against the eyes of various forces, keeping the secret of the warp gate intact. Moreover, he made some changes around the warp gate within the toilet just a while ago to further enhance its furtiveness. The toilet bowl and the mirror were removed. It was replaced by a wall which was then smoothed and painted. The warp gate became a snowy white wall. If someone were to take a hammer and hit the middle of the wall, they could only realize that it was indeed a wall, and a very firm one. Only if Chen Jin was present, and only after he entered his thumbprint, scanned his cornea, passed voice recognition, and gone through all other verification procedures, a hole would appear in the wall that allowed only one person to pass through. Its safety factor was elevated to a new level. But it was still not ultimately safe. Money on Earth, I must still earn them in large amounts. It will be best if I were to have a net worth of $100 billion. Then, I can acquire the land which the happiness court is in. If I become the landlord, it will be easier for me to conduct any operations after that. Of course, the houses within the area that the happiness court resided in were not completed for more than 10 years. It would be at least another 30 to 40 years until its demolition. Within this time period, Chen Jin could grow his wealth to his heart's content. He would have dozens of ways to obtain the land containing the happiness court after he became a super tycoon. He, at his current state, did not have to rush things at all. Chapter 131, An Amazing Teammate. The 14th of February marked a full 2 weeks since the first screening of WA Robot, A Brilliant and Brave Rescue. The latest box office number was 5.812 billion. It far surpassed that of the previous box office champion, Battle Dragons 2, and seized that title for itself. It broke the movie box office records in Z country. This result caused an intense debate in the film communities of Z country. The response amongst netizens who loved this movie was very enthusiastic. Many of them shouted, "I strongly support this, WA is impressive," or "I contributed to box office sales too." It had also attracted much attention and reports from the overseas media. A movie typically about a month in the cinemas. Some movies might be screened for a longer duration of 2 to 3 months. WA Robot, A Brilliant and Brave Rescue had only been screened in cinemas for half a month. Various industry professionals tried to evaluate and speculate on its final total box office sales. The sales from the first week that a movie runs in the cinemas usually represent 40% of total box office sales. 2 weeks could represent 70% of the total box office sales. There was not much potential that could be tapped in the following weeks. However, assuming that WA could still tap on a 30% sales potential, that meant that the total box office sales could reach 8.3 billion. A terrifying number. 8.3 billion? Impossible. This is equivalent to roughly 300 million viewers from the cinemas. But Z countries' movie chains have not been able to achieve a national distribution rate of 50%. Most farming villages and small towns have no cinemas at all. A movie so good that it can attract 50% or more of its viewers to go to a cinema. That's practically impossible. Box office sales in the later period will only reach a maximum of 1 billion. Who said it's impossible? The average price of a ticket to see the WA robot is $38. 8.3 billion divided by 38. It only has to be good enough to attract 218 million citizens to go into the cinemas and watch the movie. This also means that out of 3 people who walk into a cinema, as long as one of them buy a ticket, box office sales of 8.3 billion can be achieved. It's not impossible. No matter if it's impossible or not, the record-breaking sales of 6.5 billion in national box office sales by WA Robot has created a new box office record that will be hard to surpass. This will soon be an unchangeable fact. A director who's not even 24 and a fresh grad to boot, a tech company that has only been established for just over a year. The two joined forces to create a new box office record. One cannot help but lament, this era ultimately belongs to the youth. After smashing through all previous records of box office sales, Chen Jin called Xiao Tao and consulted with her on some questions. Xiao Tao, what do you think will be the final sales of this movie? After some thought, she replied, I think it shouldn't be too hard to achieve 7 billion. I dare not imagine a greater number. Moreover, the movie is pretty good, so there are many film distributors from various countries who are looking to collaborate with us. America, Japan, Korea, the Southeast Asian states, and the European states, more than 50 countries and regions want to import this movie. We are urgently producing overseas subtitled versions. If we can screen it overseas, with their considerable scope, it would not be difficult to rake in another 3 billion from overseas box offices. Doesn't that mean that global box office sales would reach 10 billion? Xiao Tao said calmly, yes, WA Robot will not only be the first movie to break through box office sales of 1 billion in the domestic market, but it will also be the first movie from Z country to break through box office sales of 1 billion in the global film market. We've fully surpassed Battlegrounds 2 and brought Z country's movies to a whole new level. Mentally, she felt very calm too. Although she was very proud of these accomplishments, she felt more stress than pride. The heavy burden that she carried on her shoulders also bore the expectations of countless citizens. At only 20-some years of age, she could not allow herself to rest on her laurels and live off her past glories. She could only continue to create more glories of an even greater magnitude. If her next movie brought in box office sales of less than 3 billion, she might even be seen as a failure by others. With the first spotlight on her from the top directors, she was not allowed any chances of failure. 10 billion in total box office sales. Chen Jin took in a deep breath. He never thought that making movies could be so profitable. How much money could he portion out from the 10 billion in box office earnings? He calculated Xiao Tao's share. Firstly, based on the current box office sales of 5.8 billion, he calculated the 5% tax that he would have to pay the Specialized Fund Office as a contribution to the funds for the filmmaking industry. After which, he had to pay a 3.3% business tax. After subtracting the required tax payments from the total box office revenues, he was able to get the net box office profits. From the net profits, he subtracted another 600 million. If the remaining number was greater than 3 million, he would have to pay another 1% in fees to the movie issuing agency. Of the net box office profits that were currently left, the cinemas and their respective chains would receive a cut of 57%. The production and publishing organizations would receive 43%. Xiao Tao did not own any publishing organization. Hence she forked out 100 million to buy out a movie publisher and completed the publicity and distribution of the movie. After subtracting all that should be subtracted, 2.16 billion of box office profits were left for the production organization. Of which, Chen Jin received a 50% cut of 1.8 billion as well as a 1% cut of total box office sales, which was 5.8 million. He received a total of 1.14 billion. The remaining 1 billion was remuneration for Xiao Tao and other investors. Chen Jin did some mental calculation and said, Xiao Tao, you mentioned that you invested a total of 300 million in this movie. However, according to this method of distribution, you'll not only earn nothing, but you'll also make a significant loss? That is if box office sales of WA was less than 2 billion. Yes. She nodded. I'll lose an estimated 10 million. But a movie's profits do not only come from box office sales. It can also create and promote plenty of merchandise on the side to acquire copyright royalties from third-party distributors. It could be made available on the movie libraries of smart TVs where the audience would pay for videos on demand. It's entirely possible to break even in the end. Therefore, as long as box office sales of WAWA is not lower than 2 billion, it can be considered a success. Moreover, the overseas market was a significant source of sales that could contribute to a certain amount of earnings. With 2 billion in box office sales, not only would she break even, she would even make a small profit. However, now that box office sales of WAWA was rapidly approaching 6 billion, the hard-earned money of Shizuo Tao and her parents was recouped at least 3 times over. After all the suffering came the reward. As for the next plan of action, Chen Jin asked, what do you plan to do after this? What kind of movie are you preparing to do next? I've not thought about it properly. I plan to have a good rest for 1 month. Then, I'll think about it. Suddenly, Chen Jin said, how about this, you don't have to think anymore. Your next movie will be WAWA Robot 2. Ah! President Chen, you still want to collaborate with me for the sequel to WAWA? Shizuo Tao was pleasantly surprised. Her next plan of action was to do a sequel to WAWA Robot. But, she did not dare to propose this idea. There were too many famous directors who had set their sights on the intellectual property of WAWA. There were certainly many who approached President Chen for a collaboration. With her own background and lack of connections, there was a high probability that she could not hold onto the intellectual property rights to this giant of a movie. She also did not dare to ask for the production rights to the sequel as she feared that she would leave a greedy impression on President Chen. After all, it was a movie that could bring in tens of billions. Could it be hers simply by asking? Hence, she could only find an opportune moment and probe his attitude. She had never thought that he would broach the subject and give the production rights to her directly. I don't like to change working partners on a constant basis. I have fewer worries about working with you. In addition, I hope that you can start on the sequel WAWA 2 as soon as possible, preferably by March, so that it can be completed by the end of the year. I want it to be on the screening schedule of the next Spring Festival. Your mission is very important. Time is of the essence. In addition, a very important character will be joining the cast of WAWA 2. It's a robot that's almost as important as WAWA. It will occupy a significant portion of screen time. It is also the second type of robotic product that will be launched by Shanghai Technologies. At the earliest, it will be launched at the end of the year. Therefore, I hope that you can complete this movie before the launch of this product by Shanghai Technologies. Chen Jin asked, lastly, the same old rules apply. I'll provide you with the source materials for the characters in the animation and post-production optimization. Can you, again, be an amazing teammate that I can count on and finish this project together? With excitement coursing through her, Shizuo Tao immediately promised, President Chen, that won't be a problem at all. Actually, it was not necessary for her to exhibit an amazing standard for this project collaboration. She only had to be slightly smarter than a pig and avoid being the weakest link. With the lead of Shanghai Technologies and the mysterious team of experts, box office sales of the movie WAWA Robot 2 would definitely reach 5 billion. If that number was not attained, she would commit harakiri as a total incompetent pig. This collaboration was a done deal. Chapter 132, Being ordinary was not necessarily a bad thing. Junting Grand Court was a luxurious villa estate in the Pudong area. There were only 21 villas planned for this housing estate. Each villa occupied a very large average area of 5 acres. These high-end villas were designed by the master architect Ge Qiazai, who had a deep understanding of the Western architectural design style. These villas were dubbed the milestones in the architecture of Shanghai luxurious villas. Amongst those that were available for sale, one single unit with an area of 1,300 to 1,400 square meters cost as much as $110,000 per square meter. Chen Jin had set his sights on villa number 8 in this particular housing estate. It was the biggest villa. In addition to the main body of the building, there was also a garden of 2,000 square meters. The total area of the villa was 3,500 square meters. As for its price, it cost 320 million after a discount. Since he was making a single payment, he enjoyed another 5% discount. The real amount that he had to pay was 304 million. Chen Jin used the company's finances and took out this money in one lump sum to buy Villa number 8. Spending such a huge amount of money created a sensation in real estate circles immediately. The incident was reported in some real estate news and attracted attention from the financial and economics media. The news: the boss of Xinghai Technologies boldly tosses 300 million into the purchase of a Genting villa, spread like wildfire and triggered intense discussions within a small circle of interest. On the 20th of February, in the Court of Happiness Estate, Chen Jin packed a series of suitcases and had them loaded onto 4 luxurious sedans worth tens of millions, also bought using the company's finances. He left for Genting Grand Court and moved into luxurious villa number 8. A young and mysterious VIP of the tech industry started to live a life marked by expensive branded cars and luxurious mansions. Besides the lack of a beautiful woman by his side, his lifestyle was infinitely desired and envied by many. Nobody would have been able to imagine that the real high-tech VIP was barely living in an ordinary residential area for the middle-upper class. In order to fully disguise himself, he had to make some sacrifices. For example, he had to dress in a low-key manner. As much as possible, he would wear only cheap clothes that cost pennies. He could no longer wear high-end branded clothing. He cropped his hair very short in a crew-cut style, thus becoming an ordinary commoner with an even more ordinary appearance. His ordinary index increased by 2 points after putting on a pair of square-framed spectacles. Moreover, a type of microplastic surgery facial adhesives could be manufactured at the base of operations. The adhesive could modify the appearance of the area where it was applied, thus producing a slight plastic surgery effect. The transparent adhesives were only as big as a band-aid and the effects were able to last an entire day, all without going under the knife. It would be the #1 choice of makeup product for ladies. Chen Jin applied 3 adhesives on 3 different areas of his face. In the future, he would have to apply these adhesives before going out. Before undergoing this series of changes, he had looked somewhat handsome. Now he could lose himself in the streets. To people who had trouble remembering faces, he might as well be invisible. The greatest sacrifice that he made was in regards to his parents. He had to make up stories and excuses to explain this in a plausible manner. He could not simply say that he had a replacement acting as himself. That would be too great a shock for them. After some thought, he said, "Dad, Mom, I've bought a villa in Genting Grand Court. I might go and live in the villa occasionally. I'll let you know if I'm not at home. Mom, you don't have to prepare my meals. However, I'll still spend most of my time in the apartment below yours. I may spend even less than 2 days living in the villa. I didn't buy the villa with the intention to separate myself from you. I'm afraid that I will be targeted by the paparazzi, fans, kidnappers, and whatnot after I become rich and famous. It'll be safer living in the villa. I've also employed a few guards. This will prevent others from disrupting our everyday life." Chen Jin explained it thus. Chen Jin had considered moving into Genting Grand Court with his parents, and he even invited them, but they were unwilling. They had their jobs. Their workplaces were far away from Genting Grand Court and it would be a long and inconvenient commute. They could only go over on the weekends to relax. Even if they were retired or had resigned from their jobs, they would still prefer to live in the Court of Happiness rather than a villa estate with few neighbors. After all, they had lived in the Court of Happiness for almost 10 years. Upon hearing his words, He nodded. The media said that you were worth more than 10 billion and that you'll definitely be in the top 100 in this year's list of national billionaires. You really do have to pay more attention to your safety. Most billionaires live in villas not to show off but for safety reasons too. I understand your intentions. She did say that, but somehow He was flooded with a wave of sadness. His wings were grown now. He could really leave her side and fly away. Chen Gang said, "Just move into the villa. The apartment below is still yours. Come back often when you're free, especially for your mom. Also, the dazzling world outside is filled with great temptations and many traps. You have to control yourself. Call us if you meet with any troubles." Chen Gang thought that after his son moved into that villa, he probably would not come back often. He could be considered filial if he even came back to visit twice a week. Hearing her husband's words, He suddenly started to cry. The outside world was so exciting. Would her son come back often now that she would not restrain him anymore? Would he even return twice a week? This was the big question. "Mom, don't be sad. I promise that I'll spend most of my time at home. At most, I'll only stay in the villa occasionally." Chen Jin coaxed her for some time, repeatedly promising to spend more time at home. Only then did she reluctantly stop her crying. However, she still felt very sad and disappointed. For the following 2 weeks, Chen Jin kept his promise through concrete actions. He meant what he said. In a total of 14 days, he spent 10 days in apartment 302, which was 1 story below his parents' apartment. He would go up to have dinner with them every day. He went to the big villa in Junting Grand Court and lived there for 3 days. In reality, it was to show the face of his double in public. He himself went to base of operations. There was also a day when Chen Jin brought his parents to the big villa where they stayed for 1 day and 1 night, enjoying the life of the rich. This was the real Chen Jin living in the villa for the first time. He had hidden his double. Thus, this operation was fussier and more complicated. But he could experience a greater degree of safety in this way. He had made sufficient explanations to his parents, especially his mom. She was extremely satisfied and felt a well of emotions. Being able to raise her son to this age, her affections had not gone to waste. His parents were extremely shocked at his new appearance. He sported a crew cut, wore cheap clothes and a pair of square-framed spectacles. After pasting the amazing adhesives on his face, he had an ordinary and forgettable image. Even as his real mother, Li said, "Son, frankly speaking, I almost couldn't recognize you in this get-up. I thought you were someone else. Besides the same height, you're 2 totally different persons." Chen Gang felt the present scene fading away, as if a split in reality had occurred. He boldly hypothesized, if his son did not become an entrepreneur and instead continued his old life as a homebody, living merely to await death, he was afraid that this would be his appearance after a number of years. Helplessly, he forced a smile and thought, the affairs of the world are inconstant. He was extremely worried when his son was a loafer. He was afraid that Chen Jin would fall into a state of poverty and his circumstances would worsen every year. He might even become homeless and live a life worse than a beggar's. Now his son was a useful member of society, had a successful business, and became a billionaire. But he had never imagined that not only did Chen Jin remain unchanged, he even prepared a destitute and frustrated at life appearance. Funny. It was really too funny. Chen Jin laughed. "Dad, Mom, if I'm not ordinary, did you think that I'll still have the opportunity to stay beside you in the future? Will I still have the opportunity to show how filial I am?" "Yes, that's right." As if awakened from a dream, Li grabbed her son in a hug and leaned her head against him. "Son, you are totally right. Your career is important, but I still hope that you can spend more time with me." Chen Gang seemed to understand something too. In the past, he had overly high expectations of his son and was very critical towards him. But, those were actually anxious and stubborn behaviors. Now, he thought that being ordinary sometimes may not be a bad thing at all. On the 5th of March, at the second development plant in Xinghai Technologies, after a long 8 months of preparation and development, another major product of Xinghai Technologies had been successfully finalized. Chapter 133, Little Star Learning Machine. That was right. The learning machine. The learning machine envisioned by Chen Jin and judged by many to be outdated, low-tech, and looked upon with disfavor had been produced. It was given the name, Little Star Learning Machine. In the product testing lab of the development plant, the learning machine was displayed in front of Chen Jin. It was roughly the same size as a 10-inch iPad. It was rather heavy and awkward with a thickness of 9.8 mm, and a gross weight of 1 kilogram. Of course, the final product to be mass-produced would be redesigned to reduce its weight, its thickness would also be compressed in the process. The Chief Technical Inspector Song Bojun explained the functions of the Little Star Learning Machine as he performed some demonstrations. "All the functions that you wanted us to achieve have been completed. The first function. Learning textbook knowledge. We've entered all the required knowledge modules for the 6 grades of primary school. They are stored in the local memory of the learning machine. The size of the data is roughly 16 GB. President Chen, as for the educational video materials that you gave us, we've put all 20,000 plus videos on the cloud server. When a student needs to watch the videos, he can either download them onto the local memory or stream it from the cloud." Song Bojun moved to the next point. The second function. Voicing answers. This was the function that you specifically mentioned. Whenever the primary school students have any questions, they can ask the smart robot Little Star. Little Star can answer all questions, including some questions that are outside of the primary school syllabus. For example, Little Star is able to provide scientific yet interesting answers to questions like why does the sun emit light, why do stars flicker, why is the moon round, and other similar questions. This will satisfy their exuberant curiosity. Song Bojun continued, next is the third function. Homework guidance. This function can be summarized like this: as long as the knowledge modules are within the scope of the syllabus, there are no primary school level questions that the Little Star learning machine cannot solve. This excludes literature, language, composition, English composition, and the formation of words or sentences. Simply by using the camera function to scan the test paper or homework, it can provide the steps to solve the problems as well as the answers, typically within 5 to 10 seconds. We conducted a stress test. We found all 5,000 Math Olympiad questions on the market, and gave them to the Little Star learning machine to solve. In the end, it used less than a day to complete all answers to the 5,000 questions. It used an average time of 10.7 seconds to solve each question. Out of the 5,000 Math Olympiad questions posed to Little Star, it correctly answered 4,976 questions. It found problems in 18 questions as they were not structured in a clear manner. There were 6 questions with 2 or more answers. But, in our opinion, the problems lie with the questions. There was nothing wrong with Little Star's answers. Little Star's rate of accuracy is 100%. No matter how much the primary school syllabus changes, it won't be a problem for the Little Star learning machine. Song Bojun paused for a moment. We're only worried about one issue. This homework guidance function could be seen as cheating by some teachers and a way to slack off studying by parents. In order to avoid this misunderstanding, we have added a challenging mode into this function. Under this mode, Little Star will only provide the thought process for solving the question. Following the guide provided, the student will use the stylus to write the first step required in solving the question on the answer board. Only then will the machine provide the following thought process for the next step, thus guiding the student to complete the answer by himself. Activation of the challenging mode is usually controlled by the parents. Finally, he moved to the next point. Fourthly, in order to encourage students to become more passionate about their learning and to record their progress, we've added the academic ranking function. By using the Little Star learning machine to study for at least 30 minutes, their academic values will be increased by 1 point. By taking a mini-test every week and then a full-scale exam every month, the student's academic value can go up to 10 points, 30 points, or even more if their results are good. The academic values can roughly reflect a student's progress. Using this information, the machine can draw up a list of rankings. The student can also check the ranks of his friends. Of course, the student can also refuse academic testing and not pursue points to increase their academic values. Song Bojun smiled proudly. Fifthly, we've added some games that will build up one's intelligence. The games will train and exercise the brain's thought processes. Lastly, we've added lessons on life knowledge, civilizations, etiquette, law, and popular science. These will be completed with the guidance of parents. Also, we've developed and added all other functions that were found to be necessary. With a face flushed with great excitement, Song Bojun said, "President Chen, I think that our Little Star learning machine has been brought to successful completion. It's ready to be introduced to the market." Chen Jin nodded. He had devoted much of his energy into the project of the intelligent learning machine. It was 10 times more important to him than the WA robot. He did much more than just go to the facility for an average of 3 to 4 days every week. He had also brought with him countless technological information materials. For example, the USB flash disk in which the intelligent learning program had been downloaded. Another example was the explanatory videos on the various knowledge modules. There were more than 20,000 of those videos. After packing them up, the materials were nearly 5 TB in size. These were given to him by the AI, Nuwa. Yet another example was the 3,000 TB of core data stored in the company's supercalculator. Although there were 8,000 TB of precious data on the company's supercalculator, that 3,000 TB of core data was produced by running Alice's Sakura for 2 minutes. After this data was transferred to the TC9000, the level of intelligence in the learning machine was increased by 10 times all at once. The knowledge that it possessed had evolved to a middle schooler level and was currently moving towards high schooler stage. In addition, functions such as the intelligent language differentiation and intelligent video production techniques had also rapidly achieved breakthroughs in their development process with the aid of the technological materials that Chen Jin brought. Without the materials that Chen Jin had provided, the Little Star learning machine would never have been completed even in 2 or 3 years, much less 8 months. There was no need for him to transport the supercalculators from the base of operations to Earth. He simply had to transfer the processed data to Earth. This would speed up the progress of the project. In addition, the R&D costs had been drastically reduced. Originally, the learning machine would have cost tens of billions to produce. But, Chen Jin had only spent 5 billion or so to create the construction machinery that met the target standard of performance. Okay. Putting down the construction machinery in his hands, Chen Jin said, the first generation of our little star learning machine has officially been finalized. We'll move into mass production immediately. A technician squeezed himself into the conversation. President Chen, how many units do you think we should order? Chen Jin looked at him and asked, oh, what do you think? He exclaimed, there is an estimated 100 million primary school students in the whole country. We can give an order of 50 million units. Chen Jin shook his head. The hardware unit of the Little Star First Gen is average, it can only satisfy the needs of the primary school students. It's not suitable for middle and high schoolers. Unless we successfully complete the development of the high-performance AI chip, but that will require a few more months. Give an order of 5 million units. Little Star First Gen is only a transitional product. Speaking of chips, the CPU in Little Star First Gen used a blueprint supplied by Tengsuan Corporation. Despite its normal level performance, its power and capability were entirely sufficient. It had the advantage of being cheap and reliable. It was created using the 28nm production technique by Zhongxin International. Chen Jin had already made an order for 5 million units. The AI chip used in the Little Star First Gen was termed Star Brain No. 1. It was jointly developed by Xinghai Technologies and the domestic company, Cold 5 Instruments, using a capital of 500 million. The chip was about the size of a fingernail. With its intelligent operational capability, it could process 50 billion counts per second. However, it had a weaker performance. When met with questions of a middle school third grade level or higher, it required at least 30 seconds before providing the correct answer. This was definitely not enough. It was only barely enough if it could achieve 500 billion counts in 1 second or even higher. The Star Brain No. 2 was currently in development. It had a surface area about the size of a beer bottle cap. With a peak operational capability of 750 billion counts per second, one could get ample use out of this AI chip. Hence, Chen Jin also gave an order of 5 million units for the chip, Star Brain No. 1, which would be produced using the 14nm production technique from Zhongxin International. Its mass production had recently begun. Lastly was the OEM factory. He found a factory called Chongcheng Electric to be the OEM for the production of the learning machine. This factory was a state-owned enterprise with tremendous technological prowess. Therefore, Chen Jin gave the order for 5 million intelligent learning machines to this company. Why did he not approach Lingfeng Jingmi for a collaboration? Wang Chuanlong called to ask exactly this question. Chen Jin replied, does Lingfeng Jingmi have this production capacity? You can't even cope with the production of the WA robot. I can only give the order for the learning machines to another company. President Chen, you could have called me earlier. If you had given me a heads up in advance, I would have just built another OEM factory. Ah! Wang Chuanlong was very disappointed. Just like that, he lost the OEM order worth a few millions to another company. He ached at the loss. An OEM factory was less profitable than that little company of Lingfeng Jingmi. But as someone who was in the OEM business, he liked the feeling that he got when he assembled a countless variety of components into a whole product. He had liked it since he was a young boy. His dream was to grow his Lingfeng Jingmi company into an OEM giant like Futokong. He never imagined that an order worth millions would simply pass him by due to an insufficient production capacity. Chen Jin consoled him, President Wang, I will have other orders for you as long as Lingfeng Jingmi is able to expand its follow-up production capacity. It's alright to complete what you have on your plate first and do a good job on the WA robots. There will be opportunities to collaborate in the future. Wang Chuanlong recovered. Excuse me, President Chen. I was being greedy. You can rest assured. I promise that I will continue to do a good job as the OEM for the robots. After he carefully thought things over, he suddenly understood why President Chen did not call him up. It was possibly because he did not want to put all his eggs into one basket. It was a typical consideration in business. It was him who had been acting too persistent, showing how unaware of the situation he was. It's okay. There will be plenty of opportunities to collaborate in the future. Starting on the 10th of March, Xinghai Technologies posted a few comments from its official Weibo account in succession. The comments used hyperbolic diction meant to titillate. In the future, everyone will be a top scholar and a genius. Every child will be this country's cream of the crop. Mothers, you no longer have to worry about your child's study. The structure of our nation's education system will experience dramatic upheaval because of this product. There is no question that it cannot solve. Let's meet on the 15th of March at 8 p.m, we'll be waiting. Chapter 134, Making a Personal Appearance. Up to the present date, Xinghai Technologies had only been established for less than a year and a half. It was an extremely young company. However, it had achieved a total sales volume of 15 million through the successive releases of the 3 types of robots. The total nationwide box office sales of its movie Wa Robot, A Brave and Brilliant Rescue, which had currently finished running in the domestic cinemas, was 7.8 billion with total global box office sales of 11.5 billion. The movie was taking the whole world by storm. Xinghai Technologies had become a tech company that was known by all in Z country. In addition, it had a budding reputation overseas as well. The official Weibo account of Xinghai Technologies was followed by 34 million fans, which was almost twice of Huayao Mobile followers at 18 million. Moreover, it had millions more followers compared to the 24 million fans following Demi Mobile. Simply based on the number of fans and followers, it could be said that Xinghai Technologies received the most attention. It was a company that brought along its own super site traffic. Every Weibo post that Xinghai Technologies made stirred up many discussions, and attracted countless hits and reposts. As for the all-new product that Xinghai Technologies was about to announce, after vast numbers of netizens saw the Weibo posts that were published successively using hyperbolic language for maximum shock value, most netizens did not go along with the craze and blindly boast about the new product. There was only a minority of fanatic fans who posted expressions like strongly anticipating and quickly announce it. On the contrary, there was widespread ridicule and complaints. Stop joking. The product that you are launching is a learning machine. Stop making this kind of post on Weibo. I feel like dying whenever I hear the word learning. Don't mention learning machines to me. Can you do something that's worth anticipating, like a mobile phone, computer, gaming devices, and the like? Why make a learning machine out of the blue? Mom, I don't want to study. Not interested. I'm not buying. I don't want it even if it's free. It's courting its own death. It's throwing billions down the river just to produce a learning machine? I conclude that this is definitely a critical mistake in Xinghai Technologies' strategy. However, within the countless voices expressing their ridicule and disfavor, there were also a few feeble voices expressing support. I support Xinghai Technologies. I support your learning machine. I'll buy it for sure when it comes out. I have an unmotivated and useless grandson. In every exam, his results are top, from the bottom. He can't be helped even if I buy 10 learning machines. But, I want to buy your learning machine and give it a try. A good company that thinks of the welfare of the common citizens. Your cleaning robot has freed us from the drudgery of cleaning. And your learning machine will free us from the worries about our children's studies. These products take into account the considerations of parents. Look at the tech companies today. What do they produce all the time? Mobile phones that are barely used before the next upgraded one comes out. Various games that provide cheap thrills and destroy one's motivation to lead a meaningful life. There are none that produce practical and honest goods. All these products entrap children, they entrap our next generation. Take another look at Xinghai Technologies. After they are rich, they make products for learning and knowledge. Xinghai Technologies is the ethical company in Z country. A reply under this comment expressed its agreement. Yes, I've sent my child to Professor Yang 3 times. But his internet addiction just can't be cured. I'm so worried that I could die. I wonder what the learning machine from Xinghai Technologies is like? Can it help him quit his addiction to games and make him like learning? Besides the attention and discussions from the netizens, there were many bigwigs in the tech circles who privately paid much attention to the new product that Xinghai Technologies was about to announce. This was especially true for the top leader in the field of the learning machines, Biobio Company, who was very worried. Would the learning machine from Xinghai Technologies become a strong competitor? The CEO of Biobio, Zhang Yongping, reported this situation to the founder, Huang Haiqiang. He was a man close to 60, who still had perfect eyesight. Having experienced countless setbacks in life, he was also dubbed the most mysterious VIP of the tech industry and described as someone who was well versed in the art of war. Now, he merely shook his head and calmly stated, "I never thought that others would fight over leftovers." He was unconcerned. After all, the market for learning machines only accounted for less than 5% of its business in present times. On the night of the 14th, Chen Jin received a call from a familiar character. "Brother Chen, I wonder if it's possible to reveal if Xinghai Technologies really intends to make the learning machine their second product category." The call was from Lei Xiaojun to inquire about the new product, as he was very curious. "Yes, it's indeed a learning machine." The netizens guessed right. Lei Xiaojun was beyond shocked. "You invested billions just to make a learning machine? Isn't it better to use the money for R&D on a different product?" "Extravagant, brother, you're too extravagant. There's no future in producing learning machines. This is a sunset industry, there won't be another boom." "Brother Chen, don't think that I'm being rude. This time, you're really making a mistake. You've gone somewhat overboard with your obsession. You should consult more with the professional investors and get their suggestions." Chen Jin asked, "I heard that Brother Lei is a famous angel investor, so I'll just ask you, what kind of product is better for me to do? What kind of product has better prospects?" Mobiles, phones, computers, and AI ecosystems. All of these would work. Let's say I'll make mobile phones. If Xinghai Technologies focused on producing mobile phones, it'll drive your Demi out of business and make it collapse within 3 years. Do you believe me?" Lei Xiaojun was stunned speechless by his extremely conceited tone. Chen Jin asked, "Would you still advise me to go into mobile phones if Xinghai Technologies really did possess this capability?" Lei Xiaojun did not know how to answer this question. He wanted to retaliate and tell the young man to learn humility. Young people should know how to be humble. Just as the words were about to be spoken, he swallowed them back. When he heard the statement, "It'll drive your Demi out of business and make it collapse within 3 years, he did not find it funny. On the contrary, he could feel a chill crawling up his spine. There was no trace of humor in the young man's tone. "Ha ha ha, then I would have to thank you for leaving me some means of survival. I'm also congratulating you on the learning machine. I hope it becomes a huge success and sell like hotcakes. Good luck on your endeavors." Chen Jin smiled and shook his head. He realized that there were no simpletons amongst those successful bigwigs. All of them possessed an extremely high IQ and EQ. On the 15th of March, at the same location of the Workers' Stadium in Shanghai City, the preparations for Xinghai Technologies' third launch event was basically completed. It would begin in less than 2 hours. The audience arrived in never-ending droves. All 30,000 entrance tickets were sold out. There were no empty seats. The prime attraction of this launch event was not the learning machines that countless netizens had correctly guessed. It was a person. The founder of Xinghai Technologies, who was only 25 and built the company from scratch to the point where he now possessed tens of billions, would reveal his face and personally host this new product launch. That was right. Chen Jin was sick of being in the shadows. He decided to make a personal appearance. He had no intention on missing out on such a good opportunity to be in the limelight, enjoying all the attention and worship from countless fans. Of course, for his own safety, he was actually using his double to host the launch event on stage. His real self was in the base of operations where he could remote control his double via a network cable that he had linked to the base. He would share the vision of his double and control its speech and actions, achieving the effect of making a personal appearance. There was another advantage to this. He would not have stage fright easily. Therefore, he could train himself to develop the guts to face thousands of people. Moreover, he had rehearsed more than 10 times in the simulated reality environment. In the beginning, he would stammer. But now, he could express himself smoothly. He had experienced various last-minute situations. Even if there was widespread booing from the audience, he would be able to respond calmly. As the double was remotely controlled, a 30-millisecond or so network delay existed. There was the potential danger of an interruption in the network connection. This could be caused by a signal blockage or a disconnected network. Chen Jin had also prepared a plan B for this potential pitfall. If the network interruption went on for more than 5 seconds, the double would go into autonomous mode. It would continue hosting the launch event based on the backup plan, thus ensuring the event would not be screwed up. He had made ample preparations. By 7:50 p.m., the launch event was about to start. In a corner by the stage were some female staff with the employee cards of Seeing High Technologies hanging from their necks. They were chatting enthusiastically with excited expressions. "This is awesome, we'll see the big boss soon. I've heard that the boss is very young and really handsome. I wonder if that's true. Strange. I've joined the company for half a year, but I don't think I've seen the boss even once. It's said that all the technicians in the development plants have seen him, but he doesn't really come to headquarters." Zhen Kershin mumbled to herself, "It's great now, I can finally see the real appearance of the boss." She was filled with anticipation. Beside her was Vice President Liang Ying. However, she did not notice the glances that Liang Ying snuck at her, or the strange smile on her face. Chapter 135, Played for a Fool. Jingling. Heart-stirring music began to play. A plume of fog gushed out of the dry ice machine placed at the side of the stage. A young man dressed in a white long-sleeved shirt and jeans appeared. He had a tall and straight posture. With energetic steps, he walked up to the stage and faced the audience. Countless females in the audience shrieked. Countless men in the audience ridiculed in agitation. At a corner by the stage, Zheng Kershin was so stunned that she stood rooted to the ground. Her cherry mouth formed an O and her eyes were filled with disbelief. It's you. You're the big boss of the company? Ah! She shrieked and covered her red face with her hands. I'm finished. I'll be fired, I can't work anymore. I actually treated the company's boss as CEO Ling's assistant. I'm so dead. Zheng Kershin, you're dead. You have no more dignity to continue staying in the company, pack your stuff and leave tomorrow. Vice President Liang Ying looked at her behavior with some amusement. Silently, she thought, it's the boss who told us to keep it from you. Lady, you're too naive. It was about an hour into the launch event and it was progressing very well. The smooth delivery of the handsome president, the powerful functions of the intelligent learning machine, and the intermittent ear-piercing shrieks from the female audience all proved to be good indications. There were more than 6 million viewers watching the live event across various broadcasting platforms. This was the largest number of viewers who were watching the event at the same time. The launch event could be described as a huge success. The introduction of the various functions of Little Star Learning Machine was complete. Chen Jin started to announce its price. So, how much is it selling for? After a round of discussions and consultations, its final price was set at $5,888. $5,888. This could totally be described as a friendly price. Of course, the production costs of Little Star First Gen's hardware was not high. With a configuration of 4+64G, a cheap CPU, and a self-developed AI chip, the total hardware production cost was less than $1,500. By setting its price at $5,888, the net profit margin for the hardware could reach 30% or more. However, the development costs of this learning machine exceeded 5 billion. But, with the addition of R&D costs, he could only break even and make a generous profit by increasing the unit price of all 5 million Little Star First Gen by $1,000. However, everyone still did not really understand the intelligent machine. In such an environment, Chen Jin thought that setting such a high selling price for the first model of a new product would cause many consumers to retreat. The powerful capabilities of the Little Star Learning Machine would only remain known to the richer consumers. He would not only do business with the minority. Seeing High Technologies would not serve only a small quantity of people. Seeing High Technologies intended to take the whole market share and change the entire Z country. Hence, the purpose of setting the price of Little Star First Gen at $5,888 was to build a popular reputation for the product and to get people talking about it. When the more advanced and more intelligent Little Star Second Gen was launched, one would be humiliating the capabilities of the product to set anything lower than $10,000. After the end of the event, a furor was taking place online. Netizens held furious discussions on Weibo and other social media platforms. However, what was surprising was the two very clearly different directions taken in the discussions. These were the responses of the female netizens. Oh my god, he's so handsome. My Prince Charming has appeared. My husband has appeared. 25 years old, handsome and rich. He's still single too, nobody is allowed to take my husband. I thought fiction was fiction. I never imagined that the domineering president exists in reality too. I married too young. I return your pearls with flowing tears, what I wouldn't give to have met you when I was still unmarried. I quit being the fans of those young flashy boys. My husband is better looking. Messages from countless friends and buddies flooded Yuanlin's WeChat friends circle. Her phone shut down several times from the huge load of incoming messages. Lin, I'm begging you, can you give me his contact? Lin, we were in the same class since kindergarten. It's 20+ years of sisterhood. Lin, I'm begging you. Can I transfer $100,000 to you? I'll treat you to a meal tomorrow. Yuanlin, do you still remember what you said before? Have you forgotten this phrase to share bliss and misfortune together? Yuanlin. This is the last time. Don't force my hand. I can take all kinds of action. Crazy. Yuanlin was so pissed off she blocked a good half of her friends in her friends' circle. The responses from the male netizens were all sorts of envy, jealousy, and resentment. I was still studying like a nerd in school when I was 25. He's rich, and handsome too. Can't he let us have a chance with the ladies? I've suffered a ton of hurt. As compared to him, I've wasted my life living to this age. The focus of the netizens' discussions was the young boss of Xinghai Technologies. Only a small number of professionals discussed the Little Star learning machine in depth. They reached a unanimous conclusion: this type of learning machine was a pretty good product. The next morning, Chen Jin received a call while he was sleeping. It was from the sales manager Li Yuanliang. He said with some panic, "President Chen, bad news. Some unlawful punks are smearing your reputation in a frenzy." What? Chen Jin crawled out of bed and opened his computer. Logging into Weibo, he finally understood what Li Yuanliang meant by smearing his reputation. Memes. Memes were being spammed and distributed across countless Weibo comments and QQ's group chats. They were all based on his image or the Little Star learning machine. For example, there was a panda who was holding the Little Star learning machine in his hands. It was accompanied with a line at the side saying, "Silence. You're disturbing me when I'm using the Little Star learning machine." There was also a video capture of him hosting the launch event, saying, "Little Star, do you know the answer to 1 + 3? When a question was solved, the Little Star learning machine said, "Correct, you're the smartest baby in the world." Also, that classic ad line, "Mom will not have to worry about my studies anymore." Some nosy netizens even gave him a nickname, Smart Baby, which was currently spread to countless netizens as a punchline. In addition, there were countless other similar memes which all combined to nearly tarnish his shining image beyond repair. Li Yuanliang said furiously, "President Chen, call the police, you have to call the police. Let the cops catch all of the people who smeared your reputation. This is too enraging." "That's not necessary." Shaking his head, Chen Jin forced a smile. "They're just making some harmless jokes. As long as it doesn't go overboard, let them do as they like, let it go." "Let it go? President Chen, you're giving them free rein to tarnish your image. What else can I do? If I really call the cops on those busybodies, will the netizens praise me for a job well done or will they criticize my pettiness? Let it go. As long as it's not malicious, let them do as they like." This was the consequence of being a public figure. Chen Jin had asked Brother Lei what his opinion was on the solo concerts that he held. Brother Lei had said that he disliked it and even felt uncomfortable about it. However, the concerts also spread the popularity of Demi Company. It was a mixed bag of blessings and he would not make a fuss about it. Li Yuanliang said reluctantly, "Okay, President Chen. We will keep a tight watch on the responses online. We'll call the cops immediately once any extreme images appear." Chen Jin ended the call. Using his mouse, he went onto Weibo again to check out the memes flooding the platform. Are they all geniuses? He was filled with frustration and an impulse to chop somebody with a knife. But, ultimately, he could only remain helpless. Having been played for a fool by the netizens, he realized his own mistake too. Little Star First Gen is a type of learning machine for primary school students. The main users are the primary school students, not the mainstream netizens. We should have invited parents and guardians in their 30s and 40s as live audiences at the event. In addition, we could have invited some teachers and educational professionals to make up the audience. There was no need to organize online live streaming sessions for the event as well. Young adults won't buy this toy, so what's the point in attracting their attention? In any case, only parents and guardians will be invited to the next launch for the learning machine. Step aside, young people. Chapter 136, Plight and Sales. On the second day after the Little Star product launch, Zhen Kershin rushed to work. With her head bowed, she went into the office and handed over an envelope. Miss Liang, I want to resign. Liang Ying, who was sitting on the office chair, raised her head and looked at her for a few moments. Then, facing the few documents on the table, she said, "Take these documents to Mr. Ling and ask him to sign on them." Miss Liang. Zhen Kershin stomped her foot. "I have no face to keep going, I actually can't even recognize my boss. Many people at the headquarters can't recognize our boss, what's the big deal, go ahead and start working. My case is different. Let's not mention about how many times I have met him before, I regarded him as Mr. Ling's personal assistant. I was so rude, he must have hated me, I have no face to stay here." Zhen Kershin's eyes were red, feeling like she had made a grave mistake. "Silly lady, if our boss hated you, I would have reminded you that he's our boss, it was he that asked us not to tell you, haven't you got it yet? Throw away that resignation letter and start working." What Liang Ying said stunned her. After some thought, it seemed that her boss certainly didn't hate her. In fact, he even added her on WeChat and talked with her frequently. Right, through WeChat, I must ask him why he hid this from me. During her free time, she took out her phone, opened WeChat and typed out long passages in an attempt to put the questions within her heart forward. However, she couldn't seem to send them out, and ended up deleting them over and over again. Near noon, her phone dinged. She received 2 messages. The sender was Assistant Chen. The first message was the trick emoji. The second message was, "How is it? My hosting skills are not bad, right?" Ah! At that moment, Zhen Kershin felt utterly ashamed and it was driving her crazy. It was on purpose. That guy must have done it on purpose. At noon on the 16th, the Little Star First Gen Learning Machine launched its official website for pre-selling. The first batch of stock was 1 million units. After customers made their orders, it would be delivered within 10 days. However, sales were not as fervent as predicted. From the moment it launched until 6 in the afternoon, in 6 hours, pre-orders for the Little Star First Gen Learning Machine passed just over 500,000 units. Over 500,000 units within 6 hours. For products of other companies, it would definitely be considered as a hot-selling product. But for High Technologies, it can be said that it was very far from their expectations. However, aside from Chen Jin and the technical team led by Song Bo-jun, the other higher-ups in the company all said that it was quite good. "We succeeded, Mr. Chen, there will be no problem for the sales of Little Star First Gen to break the 1 million mark within 24 hours. This is a pretty good result. The funds we used in this project were much less than what we anticipated. Even just selling 2 or 3 million units will cover our cost. This project is actually not bad. The learning machine is also better than what we imagined. It is impossible for us to experience loss in this. But considering that this is mainly for primary schoolers, the product audience is not big. It will be considered a great success even if we just manage to sell all 5 million units. But there is no need to increase our orders to 10 million units. It is estimated that it will already take a long time for us to sell all 5 million units. We should focus our efforts on the robots." Summing up the number of personnel in the learning machine and chip development teams in our company, their numbers have already exceeded 2,000. Our expenditure of 200 million per month in R&D is too costly, and sales are not that optimistic either. If this goes on, we might very well lose money. The company's high executives were not very optimistic about the learning machine project. How good would it be to just work on household robots? With 1 robot for each family, its market was worth over $100 million. What about the learning machine? Selling over 10 million units would be considered good enough. But the learning machine also required a lot of funding into its R&D, the input-output ratio was simply too low. Besides, in the market of household robots, High Technologies was monopolizing the market and they had almost 0 competitors in the field. In the field of education, however, the competition was harsh. There were innumerable training institutions, learning devices, and applications. Money could not be earned easily. All the higher executives wished for Chen Jin to focus on robots and not to forget the watermelon just to pick a mango. During dinner time, Chen Jin did not have much of an appetite. He held his phone in his hand, refreshing the Dobeo product interface from time to time. He realized that the amount of orders for the Little Star First Gen Learning Machine was not rising after hitting the 550,000 mark, as if it was stuck. Not even mentioning people panic buying it, it had become a problem for the first batch of 1 million units to even be sold within 2 or 3 days. Chen Jin, your learning machine is very well made. After watching your product conference, even I bought one, how can it not sell well? Asked So-yoon, who was sitting across from him. What did you buy the little star learning machine for? You are not a primary schooler. Chen Jin gave her a weird look. He did not understand what was going on in her brain. It was too good, so I couldn't help but to buy one. So-yoon gave him a naughty smile as she stuck her tongue out. Chen Jin shook his head and began mumbling to himself. I've done it wrong since the beginning of the conference. I should have massively sent out invitations and invite the parents and teachers of the primary schoolers over. Or I should have invited the primary schoolers themselves and let them listen to my product introduction. I should not have turned it into a shopping carnival for ordinary netizens. Why would ordinary netizens buy it? The netizens themselves are not feverish about it. In the family of the netizens, not much of their kids are primary schoolers. As for those uncles and aunties, they are not even familiar with the internet, not to even mention swiping Weibo and shopping online. With so many factors combined, no matter how good the little star learning machine is, the majority of the primary schooler parents will still be oblivious about its existence. Unless they used intensive advertising methods like what Bubugao company was doing, for example brainwashing through TV programs, going a little press on little star a little problem solved every day, only then would it be possible to get the parents' attention and bring up their desire to buy the product. At the same time, they had to prepare a large number of offline stores and conduct large-scale offline distributions to give the primary schooler parents the chance to purchase the little star learning machine. But this sales model had no difference with the sales model of Bubugao company's learning machine, which would create a hefty distribution cost. Just on TV ads, it would cost more than $1 million every year. The main issue was that Chen Jin was reluctant to sell his little star learning machine that way. He hated bombardment and brainwashing advertising methods. Besides, the little star learning machine's profit margin could not be too low as well. But without advertising and conducting sales offline, how would the potential users of the little star learning machine learn about it and get their hands on it? In short, this was a very conflicting, troublesome, and headache-inducing problem. Dad, Mom, I'm full. I have some things in my mind. I'll go downstairs to rest now. Chen Jin placed his bowl and chopsticks down and returned to his room with a glum face. After Chen Jin went downstairs, He Li and Chen Gang also finished eating. They placed their bowl and chopsticks down. Director, I'll do the dishes. So-yoon stood up and took the initiative to clean the table. No need, I'll do the dishes, He Li called to her, but So-yoon had already entered the kitchen with the dishes. After a while, the sound of scrubbing and rinsing could be heard. He Li, come out here for a little while. Chen Gang dragged his wife to the balcony outside the living room. He lowered his voice and with a solemn face, he whispered to her ear, He Li, why did you call So-yoon over? What are you thinking about letting her spend 3 to 4 nights at our house in a week? So-yoon is still an innocent, untouched lady. What will people say about her if they get to know about this? How can So-yoon lift her head outside if it were to happen? Chen Gang thought that his wife was getting more and more ridiculous. She never thought of the consequences, and always brought her female subordinate to stay at her own house. Especially after his son bought a villa, his wife's actions further intensified. She freed up a guest room, tidied it, and called So-yoon over to stay for the long term. She said that it was for work convenience. But who would believe such a lame excuse? Chen Gang could not bear to watch this. He thought that He Li was crossing the line. What are you even aware of? He Li glared at him. Do you really hope that our son gets married after 30? Do you really desire to not have a grandchild even after we are retired? I'm retiring at 60, why do I need to feel desperate? You are not desperate, but I am. This kind of thing must be prepared in advance. So, you dragged So-yoon to stay at our house without even asking for her consent? He Li, no matter how desperate the others are, the most that they will do is to urge their children to go on blind dates. Who does things like you? Stay out of this, he is my son, everything shall be arranged by me alone. She glared at her husband for a moment, asking him to mind his own business and shut his mouth. How could you possibly understand my plan? Our son is now a billionaire and will get even wealthier in the future. There will be countless ladies from rich and prestigious households that will want to marry our son. Can he resist temptation? Will our future daughter-in-law be easy to bond with? Everything is unknown. The ideal daughter-in-law in her mind would be either the perfect match in her context or the obedient type. Anyways, she must not steal her son away from her. Facing his overbearing wife, Chen Gang was unable to have a say. Chapter 137, A Radio Wave from Beyond. Over 3 days had passed. Online orders of the Little Star learning machine passed the 1 million unit mark, and so the first batch of 1 million units was finally sold out. All personnel up and down in Xinghai Technologies found it difficult to adapt to this sales efficiency. Even the scalpers showed no interest in the product. In the second-hand market as well, there was no sight of the Little Star learning machine being sold at an inflated price. Learning was a long process. Counting from the moment the primary schoolers started using the Little Star learning machine, it would require at least 1 or 2 months for them to be able to observe distinct results. As to whether the Little Star learning machine was good or bad, it would only be revealed after a period of time. Only then would the product's reputation spread by word of mouth. The sales of the Little Star learning machine within this period would only reflect Xinghai Technologies' promotional efforts. Jin, it seems that your company's learning machine is not selling well. Why don't I promote it for you? Uncle will help you in advertising the learning machine. I won't charge you extra, either. For every learning machine unit that my company helps you sell, we'll charge a $300 promotional fee. Please do not think that the rates are high, this is really the cost price for promoting, said his uncle, He Guofu, who called him. 300 for every unit. Chen Jin thought about it. He felt that the rates were completely acceptable. After all, it would only reduce profit by 15%. I think I'll hold on for a while longer. If things really can't work by then, I'll get back to you, uncle. Alright, it isn't that easy to sell learning machines, you will definitely come to me by then. He Guofu firmly said that after the advent of online shopping, many had predicted that physical stores and advertising companies would perish. But those predictions were utter bullshit. His advertising company was getting bigger and bigger with significant growth in sales performance every year. The advertising industry would never disappear. There would always be innumerable products that had to rely on advertising companies to be able to sell. The more the type of products, the greater the competition, as the importance of advertising. How did the Teal factory triumph over the rest? Obviously, it was because of their intensive advertising methods. Even for companies like Xinghai Technologies, which possessed natural heavy customer traffic, they should never even think of bidding farewell to advertisements. He Guofu believed that Xinghai Technologies' advertising business would be contracted to his company, Tiangsu Media, sooner or later. The sales plight of the Little Star learning machine could not be solved within a short time. They could only observe for a period of time and monitor the market response before they could formulate their marketing strategy. Within that time frame, something happened over at Planet Hierophant that caught Chen Jin's attention greatly. Alice reported to him about a situation. Master, the base's signal tower received a radio wave fragment. The directional waves are from outside the stellar system. It contains a short video message. I deciphered it and realized that the sender was the immigrants in the blue spaceship heading towards the WAF galaxy. The people that fled the planet sent a farewell video. Show it to me. Chen Jin's expression became solemn. Okay. Alice opened a video and projected it in front of him. He immediately took a deep breath upon seeing the imagery that he was shown, as his eyes became deeply attracted to it. In the bridge control room of a huge spaceship, outside of the clear and transparent porthole was a remarkable starry sky. There was a woman who was wearing a silver-colored uniform sitting on the silver-grey captain's seat. The woman had a dazzling appearance with an elegant temperament. Her bright eyes beneath her deep eyelids transmitted the glow of her wisdom and her firm beliefs. This woman, who was wearing a golden wheel-shaped badge that signified her status as the captain, said in a deep tone, April 26, 2260, 10 hours 58 minutes and 22 seconds, from the human immigration spaceship, Blue Spaceship. To the human survivors on planet Hierophant, are you still alive? Have you prevailed against the horrendous disaster? This is the Blue Spaceship. We are carrying 127,986 human survivors and 1 billion copies of the human gene pool on board, on our voyage towards the land of hope. After traveling for 15 long years, we have finally come out from the embrace of our mother galaxy, out of the Oort Nebula. Here we are, at a place, 1 light year away from home, bidding our last farewell. The Blue Spaceship will truly be leaving. We are about to accelerate, using an estimated 62 years to arrive at the WAF galaxy. Over there we will thrive and rebuild our civilization. But I hope to you listening, that you are also rebuilding. I wish I could hear that you are also thriving. I yearn for your reply, if you could. Goodbye, humans on higher Fa. Farewell, my beloved kin, our journey will be hard and shrouded in darkness, but if it's possible, we will be back. Having that said, a teardrop fell from the captain's eye. She wiped her tears, turned her chair over and with a powerful voice, she said, "Pilots, establish route, steersman, commence acceleration." "Yes ma'am," two voices replied. The video ended there. Chen Jin stood there for quite a while. The woman's farewell kept on replaying in his brain. After a moment, he whispered, "I never thought that the blue spaceship was only 1 light year away. It will be another 60 long years for them to arrive at the other habitable galaxy." The atmosphere of the British-looking woman bidding farewell was like that of a hero bidding his last goodbye knowing that he would perish. That, combined with her last tear at the end, deeply touched Chen Jin's heart. "Master, should we reply to the blue spaceship? Based on the distance between us and the blue spaceship, we need to build a large radio wave transmitter 500 meters in diameter and send out a high power signal using directional transmission for them to even have a chance of receiving our message. Should we build such a transmission tower?" "That won't be necessary." Chen Jin shook his head. "Humans that were left on higher Fa have perished, they were completely wiped out. We must not reply to them, now they are the only hope and tinder for their kind, let's just wish them bon voyage." "Okay, master." At that moment, a virtual projection appeared at the side. Artificial intelligence Nuwa's figure appeared. With overwhelming excitement, Nuwa said, "Master, I just received a message. It is a farewell message from the blue spaceship. They have left the galaxy and entered a completely unknown space." "Master, let's reply to the blue spaceship. Tell them that there are still survivors on their planet and that we are currently rebuilding their home." After hearing this, they will be super happy and excited. Chen Jin glared at her. "Nuwa, are you acting dumb in front of your master? Do you wish to be reprogrammed or eradicated?" "Ah, I'm sorry, master." Nuwa was shocked. She had a scared expression. "Concentrate on your environmental transformation plan and stay out of the other things. If I discover that you are doing things at your own will, you will be formatted." "Yes, I understand, master." Nuwa's projection dimmed away. Chen Jin shook his head. He did not know if Nuwa had awakened her self-consciousness or something else, so that she actually attempted to scheme against him. If this happened again, no matter how useful Nuwa was, he would not keep her. As for replying to the blue spaceship, only idiots would do that. If they got the idea that there were still survivors on higher Fa and they were currently rebuilding their home, what would happen if the blue spaceship decided to change their plans? What if they forsake their journey towards the land of hope and turned back? Even if the blue spaceship did not turn around and leave to build a second human civilization at WAF Galaxy according to their plans, what if somebody on the ship suddenly got homesick and wanted to return to their planet? There might be people coming home in not more than 200 years, what would he do by then? Will he and his descendants meet their demise with a single blast? Chen Jin shook his head firmly. "Nobody takes my planet away from me." He immediately realized that he should not solely focus on development efforts on Earth. On higher Fa as well, he could not just care about its environmental transformation. Military might, I must have great military might within my grasp to be used for my own interest and protect my own safety. I need to prepare beforehand to avoid getting extinguished. Therefore, building a powerful army became one of the top priorities within Chen Jin's mind. Chapter 138, Yang Dan's Way. Yang Dan was 36, she was a staff member of Xinghai Technology's sales department. She was also the mother of 2 children. Her oldest son was Chen Chen. He was 10 years old and currently in primary 4th grade. Her younger daughter was Xian Xian. She was 8 years old and currently in primary 2nd grade. Last month, after their company product, the Little Star Learning Machine, was released and opened for pre-orders on the 16th, she used her 1-month salary to buy 2 units, one for her son and one for her daughter. At that moment, her husband was furious. "The learning machine is so expensive, and you got 2 at one go, why can't you buy just one? Can't you be thriftier? I'm spending my own salary, why are you even bothered?" Her husband could not have a say, he just felt painful inside. They're almost $6,000 each. A few days later, the learning machine was delivered. One for her son, one for her daughter, and they began using it. Yang Dan also taught her children how to learn using the learning machine according to the operating instructions in the instruction manual. In the process of guiding her children, Yang Dan discovered that the Little Star learning machine was way more useful than what her boss presented during the product conference. It was the ultimate learning weapon. The learning route formulated within the learning machine was quite different from textbooks in primary schools. The knowledge checkpoints within the machine formed a literal tree diagram from top to bottom. On the tree of knowledge, there was a myriad of knowledge checkpoints. For example, the basic operations in mathematics. The approach was to learn addition before subtraction and multiplication before division. For geometric knowledge as well, the approach was to master the square, then the rectangle, then the triangle, trapezoid, polygon, in increasing complexity. In language and English, the approach was to master pronunciation and phonetic transcription before going into individual words. Grammar, it was a step-by-step process. Of course, the learning patterns to obtain any knowledge was overall the same. No learning goes from hard to easy. But the Little Star learning machine was more intuitive. Via system evaluation, the Little Star learning machine could directly identify the student's weakness and mark them red on the knowledge checkpoints on the tree diagram. Students would be presented the red knowledge checkpoints. After learning 2 times, the red dot would become yellow. Unless the student fully mastered the knowledge within the checkpoint thoroughly and become not likely to forget the knowledge, only then would the yellow dot turn green. Yang Dan's elder son Chen Jin was not very good academically. He was always positioned at the bottom of the class. Yang Dan was desperate, so she let her son do a system evaluation on the learning machine. The results shocked her tremendously. On the learning checkpoints that should be mastered by 4th graders, for her son, most of them were presented in red, a small portion in yellow, and just a few in green. Even going down the tree diagram, the knowledge checkpoints for 2nd and 3rd graders were mostly red and yellow, not even half of them were green. The learning machine gave out its evaluation immediately, a flunky, systematic revision required. Yang Dan's expression was awful as she immediately pressed her son against the learning machine. She started monitoring his studies and let him work his way up from the red and yellow dots from below. As for her daughter Xian, evaluation results returned as outstanding, a little genius, and that she could attempt the knowledge checkpoints for higher graders. After more than half a month, her son did another system evaluation on the learning machine. Yang Dan smiled out of happiness. Her son's score was above 70 marks, earning the title of an intermediate, and was heading towards the pro level. The more gratifying change was, Yang Dan realized that her naughty and hyperactive son actually became fond of learning. He was no longer opposing the Little Star learning machine. "Mum, I think the learning machine was way clearer than my teachers in class one time, and it gets into me. And the teachers inside are so cute and their voices are great. I especially like to listen to the lessons here. If I don't understand something, Little Star can answer every one of my questions." The thing that he liked the most was the homework guide function. He just had to scan the questions and within seconds, the workings and answer would be generated. Doing homework was so easy. For Yang Dan, she used this function to implement her reward system. She demanded her son to master at least 5 or more knowledge checkpoints daily. Only then could he use the homework guide function to reduce his academic workload. To do less of that troublesome homework, her son Chen could only learn more from the knowledge checkpoints. However, as the knowledge checkpoints in front were more or less mastered, Chen realized that the homework given by his teachers seemed to be not that tricky at all. Slowly, he was able to do a portion of his homework. As for her daughter Xian, Yang Dan shockingly discovered that a good half of the knowledge checkpoints for 3rd graders became green. Another half a month later, her son and daughter's school held their midterm examinations successively. Mom, I got 3rd place, I got 3rd place in the class." Her son rushed back home holding his examination slip with excitement. "Mommy, the exam was so easy, I got 1st place again." Feeling that the exams were not challenging, her daughter Xian returned home listlessly. She handed in her papers early for the last few exams, which surprised quite a number of people. 3rd place in class. Yang Dan screamed out of joy, "Great job, son. Come, Mom is going to bring you to have some fun and eat McTucky." "No." Her son shook his head and said, "In this exam, I am just 5 marks away from the 1st place in class. I think I can surpass him. I need to continue learning." After finishing, once again, he picked up his learning machine. Yang Dan could not say a word out of shock. The tone of a scholar tyrant, the aura of a top drawer, Was he still her old son? However, after 2 days, her son's class teacher called. Only then did Yang Dan know that her son was choking with resentment. It was because after the midterm exam results were released, her son, who was usually at the rock bottom, suddenly reached 3rd place. Therefore, it raised a lot of doubts. Copied, he must have copied from others. You cheated in the exams. Chen Chen's face turned red as he was wronged. He refuted them and said he did not, but none of his contemporaries believed in him. He could only hold his fist and tell his fellow classmates, I want to get the 1st place next time to prove that I did not cheat. But he only got ridiculed once again. Even when the class teacher called Yang Dan, he vaguely questioned, did your son actually cheat? No, absolutely, his results are completely genuine. Yang Dan said loudly, watching her son, who stood by the door with red swollen eyes. He dashed back to his room and slammed the door. Yang Dan immediately realized the seriousness of this issue. She knew that if her son continued to be wronged by his classmates and teachers, it would inflict serious damage to him mentally. On the 2nd day, she took a day off from work and followed her son to school. After the 2nd period of the class ended, she walked into the classroom, took out the little star learning machine from her bag, and spoke in front of the students and the class teacher who had not yet left the classroom. Hello students, I'm Ou Xiao Chen's mother. Chen Chen improved a lot academically as of recently. It is not because he cheated during exams. It is all because of the little star learning machine. As someone who was doing sales, Yang Dan had already trained her skin to be thick facing all kinds of customers. Her eloquence was not bad either. Within 20 minutes, she had clearly explained the advantages of the little star learning machine, making people nod their heads out of affirmation. Ou Xiao Chen, I'm sorry, I have wronged you, please accept my apology, his classmates apologized to him. Xiao Chen, teacher is at fault too. I made assumptions before investigating the truth. Please accept my sincere apology. His class teacher had an expression of guilt. The teacher's and classmates' misunderstanding towards his son was successfully lifted. After a few days, her son told her out of dismay, now 7 or 8 of my classmates have started using the little star learning machine. The guy who got 2nd place in class is now using it too. Mum, why did you have to explain it to them? How can I get 1st place if you do this? 7 to 8 people? A flash of light appeared in Yang Dan's brain. Now, she knew how to promote the little star learning machine. Chapter 139, WeChat Business Mode. WeChat Allied Business Mode. Chen Jin looked at Li Yu and Liang as if he saw something implausible. The little star learning machine is such a great product, and now you are telling me to sell it through WeChat Business Mode? Tell me, is this your own idea or did others give you the idea? Feeling the anger in his boss's eyes, Li Yu and Liang's face was covered in cold sweat as his body shook. He quickly explained, Mr. Chen, I didn't come up with this idea, it was someone called Yang Dan from the sales department. I have already criticized her. Xinghai Technologies is such a renowned big company and the little star learning machine is a standard high-tech product. How could we lower ourselves, throwing away our company and brand image, and sell our product through WeChat? I thought that this method was too ridiculous, so I scolded her on the spot. Even you thought that it was ridiculous, so why are you telling me her idea? Asked Chen Jin, staring at him. Li Yu and Liang perspired as if a fountain was pouring down from his head. With an upset expression, he said, Mr. Chen, I've done wrong, I will never do it again. I will ask HR to fire Yang Dan right away. No. No need to fire her. Chen Jin suddenly smiled and said, on the contrary, the company has to reward her greatly. Arrange a meeting for the higher-ups immediately to discuss the feasibility of using WeChat Business Mode to solve the sales difficulties of the little star learning machines. Also, let Yang Dan from the sales department attend the meeting, I would like to hear from her point of view. Li Yu and Liang was unable to instantly react to the massive turn of events. He held onto his chest and smiled bitterly, stop fooling me Mr. Chen. My heart can't take it. Inside the executive meeting room, facing the company's young boss, CEO Mr. Ling, her superior Li Yu and Liang, and the higher-ups that she could only look up upon occasionally, it was impossible for Yang Dan to not feel nervous. In spite of that, she still gathered her courage and said with her crisp voice, I was once into WeChat business for a certain product, and had become the regional agent for it. Actually, doing WeChat business isn't that hard, the key is still whether the product you are selling is good or bad. If the product is good enough, not only can you get enough customers, you can also hire more sub-agents and further boost sales. Of course, reputation is vital in doing WeChat business. We will need to do lots of advertising, sharing posts, and adding many friends every day. Only those with a strong will can achieve notable results and obtain a batch of regular customers. She paused, her eyes gleaming fiercely. But, I believe that if we sell the Little Star Learning Machine through WeChat business mode, we can sell them easily and in abundance. For example, in my son's classroom, I just used 20 minutes to introduce our product. Within just a few days, 7 or 8 of his classmates bought the Little Star Learning Machine. My son told me yesterday that aside from 2 poor students in his class, all his other classmates bought the learning machine. Even in other classes as well, some of the students have also begun using the Little Star Learning Machine. In WeChat, there are group chats for parents, students, and teachers, and all of them were saying that the Little Star Learning Machine is very handy. But a lot of parents were not aware of how and where they could purchase the Little Star Learning Machine, and so they were asking about it in the group chats. There was even a parent who said in the group chat that he will give $10,000 to whoever gets him a Little Star Learning Machine. Yang Dan shook her head. Those parents, how adorable they are, they can't even use Dobeo. But they are often the ones who crave for their kids to learn knowledge and become someone exceptional. With knowledge, their children's fate can be altered. These parents do not know where to purchase the Little Star Learning Machine, and WeChat dealers can most certainly help them with it. As our target customer base is fixed, our agency system can be made very simple. The sequence from top to bottom of the system should be Shanghai Technologies, regional agents, then parents or teachers. The groups that we should be active in are the parent and teacher groups. It won't be necessary to post advertisements within the friend circle. Doing it at 3 levels will suffice. The distribution cost involved is not high. For every learning machine unit sold by the regional agents, they get $50. Teacher or parent agents, on the other hand, get $150 for every unit they sell. With the product quality of the Little Star Learning Machine, we will never have to worry about it not selling. The agents we hire on WeChat just have to worry about the number of parents on their friend list. Yang Dan smiled. Last but not least, another benefit of adopting the WeChat business mode is that it can effectively tackle the scalping phenomenon. For as much as the higher agents supervise their underlings well and impose strict examinations, the existence of scalpers can be very certainly be dismissed. We can assure that every learning machine is bought by parents and used by their children. This particular statement by Yang Dan enlightened the crowd. The scalping phenomenon was Shanghai Technologies' most hated problem. It was futile no matter what restrictions they imposed, prominently at the beginning of their product launch. The formidable scalpers had innumerable ways to snatch the products, then resell it at a high price. Shanghai Technologies was the one that took the blame for their actions. People said that the company was playing the fool, in collusion with the scalpers, and no matter how they explained themselves, it was useless, thus evoking serious negative effects. The WeChat business mode might really be able to abolish the scalpers' existence. Not to mention abolishing, even cutting off 80% of the scalpers would be a great success. After Yang Dan finished, she sat down, feeling uneasy. The executives looked at each other face to face. Silence persisted for quite a while in the conference room. After a long while, Chen Jin said, I think that we could use Yang Dan's proposal, using WeChat business mode to sell our Little Star Learning Machine. This must not happen. Someone immediately refuted, Shanghai Technologies has a reputable public image. If we subject ourselves to WeChat business, it will cause a tremendous blow towards our company image. Maybe some will even say that we are a fraud company. That's right, Mr. Chen. The sales for the Little Star Learning Machine are already over 2 million units. The significant rise in sales implies that we won't need to use the WeChat business mode to push our sales to 5 million units, even. We do not need to go through the side doors. The utmost priority is still our company image. WeChat business is not something that can be glorified or something that even has a good reputation. It will be better for us to not get into this. Most of the higher executives were opposed to this idea. CEO Ling Dongjun also said, Mr. Chen, this is a grave matter, please consider this wisely. All of you need not say another word. Chen Jin waved his hands. Our product quality is our company's reputation. It's not built on what marketing techniques we use. I think that Yang Dan's idea is very good. It is most certain that WeChat business mode can have a very good promotional effect as we can directly get to the parents themselves. The distribution fee of $200 per unit is also way less than doing advertisements. Most importantly, it can prevent harm from scalping activities. The scalpers won't be able to stockpile to the disbenefit of parents. This itself is a benefit. Li Yu and Li Yang, get a team running in your sales department right away and let them develop a sales plan. Then, he pointed at Yang Dan and said, Yang Dan, I assign you as our company's chief agent. You are in charge of managing all regional agents. Besides, your idea is very impressive, Zhu Yufeng, award her 100,000 cash next month. Yes, Mr. Chen, said Finance Officer Zhu Yufeng. Yes, sir. Yang Dan stood up with her face blushing red. She was so shocked that she did not know what to say. Please keep working hard. Chen Jin gave her an expression of encouragement in his eyes and announced the dismissal of the conference. Chapter 140, 10,000 Banners, Innumerable Appreciation Letters. Commencing on the 15th of April, a month after the Little Star Learning Machine's official market launch, Xinghai Technology's logistic department started to receive one thing after another. Bright red banners. They were letters of appreciation either written or printed on paper. They were from all over the country. The titles were in general by XXX parent and parent of XXX. The content of the letters was more or less the same. The contents commonly written on the banners were: Best Learning Device. Thank you Little Star Learning Machine for getting my son to the top spot in class. Trustworthy company, trustworthy product. Very grateful. Hands down grateful. My daughter got first place in her school, thank you Little Star Learning Machine. The logistic department of Xinghai Technologies was not receiving banners as such in units, they were receiving it in batches. 18th of April, the logistic department received 13 banners from parents, 56 appreciation calls, and 24 letters of appreciation. 22nd of April received 146 banners from parents and 77 letters of appreciation. 26th of April received 787 banners from parents and 951 letters of appreciation. 6th of May received 5,264 banners from parents and 5,011 letters of appreciation. 10th of May, the logistic department warehouse is overwhelmed. There were over 80,000 banners and 10,000 letters in storage. The warehouse can no longer hold more banners and letters of appreciation. But, to express their appreciation, parents are hanging banners in the staff office. Currently, all the walls in the office area are covered by banners. This is not the end, there are still a lot more banners and letters currently on their way to the logistics department. Our company's customer service phone has been completely overpowered. It is imperative for us to halt the service for short-term maintenance. The person in charge of the logistics department was constantly updating the most recent situation. On fire. The Little Star Learning Machine was completely on fire. Within just a short 1 to 2 month period, its formidable guiding abilities had produced many top students both in class and the whole school across various primary schools of different sizes throughout the nation. On the forums online and friend circles, product reviews from the parents were causing a sensation. I'm just a regular math teacher in primary school with over 20 years of teaching experience and have taught innumerable children. But it was my own son's academic results that made me utterly disappointed. I often questioned if he was really my biological son, because how could he be so dumb and stupid? Sometimes, I get so mad that I wanted to splice his head in two and see what's actually inside. He was always the first and second in class counted backwards. Looking at his result transcript, I have already felt despair for innumerable times, until I bought a Little Star Learning Machine. Hello, do you guys still remember me? I was the one that got so angry when I was teaching my son to do his homework until I had to do a heart bypass surgery. The doctor told me that I cannot get angry anymore, meaning that I can't guide my son to do his homework anymore. So, I listened to my doctor and accepted the fate that my child will always be at the rock bottom in class. Yes, I gave up. I let him learn whatever way he wanted to. What's the big deal of him becoming a normal person in the future? But have I really given up completely? The Little Star Learning Machine gave me the last glimpse of hope. My son has congenital mental retardation. His IQ is only 65, classified as a person with mild mental weakness. He is 13 this year and still in primary 3. The teachers in his school advised me to transfer him to a school for the disabled because they say it's impossible for him to graduate from primary school. But my child is a normal child. He can eat like a normal person, go to school like a normal person, interact with others like a normal person, and besides, he is also a very sensible person. Everybody praised him for being very well-mannered and helping me in doing house chores without being told to. I love my son dearly. I do not wish for him to grow up in an environment filled with discrimination. I do not want him to attend a school for the disabled. I want him to grow up normally, happily, and carefreely. But his school gave out the last warning. If he failed again in this semester's final exams, he would be forced to withdraw. It was useless no matter how I pleaded with them. On that night, he came to my bed and said, "Mom, I should just go to a school for the disabled, I don't want to cause more trouble to them." I hugged him and cried all night. "My poor child, you are not mentally retarded, you just have some learning disabilities." Until one day, a parent introduced me to the Little Star learning machine and told me many of its functions. She said that it's very handy, just a little pricey. My family's financial situation is not that good, in spite of that, I still bought a Little Star learning machine behind his father's back. After my child started using the Little Star learning machine, a miracle happened. My son said that he could understand, many pieces of knowledge had gotten into him. In the final exams in April, he got 78 in mathematics, 66 in language. Not only did he pass for the first time, he even achieved a high mark in mathematics. His father and I were so glad that we couldn't sleep for a whole night. My child can be saved. He has proven himself to be a normal person. Thank you Xinghai Technologies, thank you Little Star Learning Machine. On the internet, stories of success by numerous parents were frantically spreading like a virus. Some netizens were questioning whether people were hired to do so. Was Xinghai Technologies playing with the brainwashing marketing strategy or compassion marketing strategy? Would they, for the sake of money, throw away their bottom line and create stories in exchange for the sales of the Little Star learning machine? The voices of doubt were in abundance, evolving into a bunch of professional Xinghai defamers, where they swore to expose the true colors of Xinghai Technologies. But those voices were very weak compared to the overwhelming reviews by parents. After all, people could say that it was fake if there were only 10 or less stories of success. But what about having 100,000 or 500,000 of them? In some of the posts, information about the school name, class, or even the students themselves were provided. There were also many before-after comparison pictures of result transcripts. Did that at least prove that a portion of the stories were true? It was on fire. The Little Star earning machine was trending throughout the whole nation and raised a furor in countless primary schools. Many primary schoolers told their own parents, "Dad, Mom, I want a Little Star learning machine." Countless parents were delighted to see their children after using the Little Star learning machine. Even if it was not as exaggerated as written in some articles, the improvements were definitely significant. Especially for the rankings on the list of scholars, the competition was downright harsh. People were becoming afraid that they would fall behind others. They also wanted to catch up to those who were clearly in the lead. For some super scholars, in order to establish a bigger lead, they started learning from the higher knowledge checkpoints ahead of time, widening their gap with others, not giving anyone any chance to catch up to them. If it wasn't that the knowledge on the tree of knowledge was capped at primary 6, some of the super scholars would have started challenging knowledge checkpoints of the junior high level. And so, it went wild. Sales went crazy. After the Little Star learning machine was spread by word of mouth, within 10 days of the WeChat business model being established, all 3 million Little Star learning machines were completely sold out, including the 2 million units sold online. All 5 million units were sold, and stock supplies were completely broken. At that time, just when the market demand for the Little Star learning machine was at its fanatical peak, it actually went out of stock. 10,000, who can sell me a Little Star learning machine? 20,000, I'll pay 20,000. 30,000. My kid is almost going to primary school, desperately need a Little Star learning machine. I'll pay 30,000. 50,000. Anyone, please give me a Little Star learning machine. I'm begging on my knees. Looking at the scene in the WeChat groups with parents increasing their bids frantically, desperately trying to buy a Little Star learning machine, Zhao Taizu, who had a bloated face, rough behavior and was wearing a large golden chain in front of his chest, stuck his head near the screen as his eyes became red. Suddenly, he spat out the cigarette in his mouth and bashed the table with his fist. Then, he bashed on his own chest. Xinghai Technologies, you playing cruel with me, eh? Zhao Taizu, are you blind? Why didn't you pile a few hundred or even more than 1,000 units? Money, all of that cash, all my millions, they are all gone. All of them. Zhao Taizu, listen carefully, Next time, no matter what seeing high technologies comes up with, even a pile of dung, buy them as if it is your life, buy as many as you can. Zhao Taizu was a professional scalper. He earned millions over the past year selling WA robots. But this time, he miscalculated. He felt remorse, even hoping that the heavens would kill him with a bolt of lightning and return him to the night where the little star learning machine was released. Unfortunately, there was no such thing as a regret potion in this world. He could only learn from his painful lesson this time around. Concluding his experience, never would he allow any opportunity to slip away ever again.